but they will see it onto the course. This op is headed back the direction here. Brett gonna have to be pristine and only for one. Stan has a huge trade. Wolf right now left on an island. He's gonna avoid this Molotov. It's Andrew that checks in first. Wolf now, he goes to the second level. He just has to go deeper in this fold, and it's Wolf that goes 0 to hero straight up with the double. He saves Wildcard all the way down. It was supposed to be a swoon in for a 12, but it is slapped down at the line, all the way tied up. 11-11. LAG are here. They did not give up. More importantly, it's Wolf that gets this down in the clutch. He was the one that was just denied. Vincent, this is unbelievable.
It really is, especially because now they're broke. Now they've got nothing. Saved a little bit of cash, a little extra economy in the back pocket. Not necessarily giving lag a 12th round, but those nades make it even harder for Wildcard.
This is the round for 12 right here. And Wildcard, they got a bunch of pistols right now. 2K per player, just barely on friend. They're keeping a fine line right now. Book that goes deep towards Moto. How does Andrew decide to sit? Stands confidently, but now we'll just have to gauge away. This has an option on it. Do they go with the pass? They absolutely do. They're ignoring the run on this option. They're going to be sprinting into CT, and this is just what they wanted. Out here, Mason, desperate, needs to hit this second shot, but cannot. There is one last man that can. It's Sandman, a guy that we put in the limelight for all the right reasons, for his potential, and they're potentially lining up. He gets one, but he doesn't find the info on the other two.
They slipped the gap. They've also lost the big op there. Friend broke open, got the deagle shot, and had the follow-up joining him is Wolf from A. Sandman gonna have reinforcements momentarily, and it's Sandman who might not even need those, might not require them, all on his lonesome. He needs 3 at minimum, and he takes all 4. Sandman saves the day for lag.
Usually a villain in his own right, but he always turns. He's got this all the way on a 26 and 15 performance. And this is not one that we saw in these last couple of group games. This is one of the best performances, probably the best performance that you've seen in Thunderpick so far out of Sandman. Going all 24, and with the lead overtime secured here on this Inferno, LAG can go for the knockout right now.
Can Wildcard kept their money in position where they can get one more buy here in round 24. Overtime is what they set their sights on to begin with. This was not the plan, but this is what they've had to adjust to. Heavy for Wildcard towards Banana. Taking a ton of damage is JBA, and Sonic not all that much healthier than he. But it is at a cost for lag. They themselves give up Banana. But Wildcard have to pay blood prices for that.
Going right back into the court of Sandman. Mason up top towards first orange. He's going to be plucked out of his position. There's nothing sprinting through this smoke. Reaction that now will be gained by Sandman. Puts down a Molotov. Mason, he's going to have to put down a defense right next to Brett, who finds one through the smoke. Mason, he has to stand alive right now. Stands so solidly at New Box that there's too much pressure here, and he's going to have to rise. Brett, he's going to be out in surprise. It's going to be out in a man advantage to Wildcard. The team that were doubted here outside of B. But right now, Wolf and Andrew, they rotate in one more time, and they've got a full belt and full health.
And it's the opposite for Wildcard. They've got no utility, no nothing left.
Oh, they're being pinned here.
Have an idea, an inkling. That's the barrel of the gun spotted by Wolf. He knows that there's someone sitting at pillar, but does he know that there's a second man back behind there? Now his position clearly given. It's lag. We don't have to make a move, but they move anyway. Wildcard, the one that time is on their shoulders. They got to go. Peepee will plant the bomb.
Seems like overtime inevitable here. Andrew filled in for this roster when they needed him.
This nade.
This may be too much to ask of the super sub. Separates 2 of the flashiest in North America. 2 of the most wanted. He has a flick opportunity. So damn close, but too far away from taking this in regulation. Wildcard, they take it where they need to. It's just maybe a little bit further on this second map. They live.
It's crazy to me that on the most important round of the game that they go B with basically no complications there. They've been very unsuccessful wildcard in the entirety of their T half at BXX. And that's with more utility, more details, all the bells and whistles and everything. But yet they go again. They have the confidence to break their way in, and it's a crucial first molly there for Oranges that I think that they had overlooked previously that knocks Brett down, that makes life a little bit more difficult. And wildcard, they play the game of chicken with life's a game. And unfortunately, Lag, they lose out. They move first. They blink. And wildcard, who had to be the one to make the move, just wait them out in that final round of regulation to push OT.
Already sweating out everything we have thought LAG have to give. I wonder if they've got a little bit more for us somewhere in there. So much pressure put on the shoulders of Wolf in these last couple of rounds. 2 clutches that he had in a row. He gets the second there. Another with it all kind of to grasp through backhaul. And, I mean, he just moves a muscle too far. And it was Peeping, who absolutely was not going to evade that type of opportunity. Ball still in the hands of Stan now. It's just this time, he's got it all to go with.
Wildcard, though, they were the ones, ironically, on the T side that kept getting reset, kept, having trouble with economy. Now they don't have that problem. Nades, though, have been an issue all the way through. Lag's protocols on Banana, I talked about it on the T side and how good they can be. Well, the CT side's been just as good. JBA rarely starting rounds without half health.
Andrew trying to stick out of this smoke that fades. He sees ahead. He's not going to try and be too confident in this. There's confident, then there's cocky. He is not going to take the ladder. Smoked out of Arches. They have a Molotov to hold them off here as 2. As the number here on A, heavier on B here. Weighing this out, it's not going to add up for LAG if Wildcard go for this A hit.
Lag really sticking to the guns on this. They hear all of this bracket presence, footsteps, tons of utility being invested in getting this map control. And at 30 seconds, when do Lag blink? When do they move off of B? So right now, Sonic's looking to try and sell this. The CT smoke and a little bit of spam, but no contact made, no nothing. Andrew, it's all placed in his hands.
15 seconds, you gotta hit these shots. It all comes down to this. Thankfully, they have this crawl on its wit's end. They haven't found Wolf here at the back of the site, but now they see this through, even with a couple ticking on this clock. It'll be Brett, that tries to spam through. Can't exactly land the kill or really even a point of damage here. LAG, they're going to give this one a fair measure because it is at a 3v3. They're taking this step by step and clearing out the apartments as Mason is going to be the one to track this behind. Brett, he's going to cause a hell of a ruckus. One distraction right now as Sandman finds Sonic, and this bomb is just getting under halfway tick. They're going to have to clear out this bomb site the same way that they found their way out of it, and they get this down. Mason onto the bomb, and the first round of overtime goes the way of life's a game.
Nicely done. They had a lot of time to facilitate that, but they take a couple of extra seconds to clear out everything. They clear out Boiler, they clear out deep apartments, long haul is all gone, and they have just a few bits of utility, but that's tossed over Mason, his single Molotov given over to Brett, who also has the nade, does damage onto Stan, or rather Sonic, I think he was at the cold box, and then that molly allows for a little bit easier entryway for Mason up and in through the apartments. That was a very well architected retake from Lag.
And the blueprints to it all had a little bit of time to make up for, so they sprinted it. Trying to open up this nade, it doesn't exactly provide the gust that they want. Andrew taking an adventure out here into apartments, looking for some new real estate, has found some. It's Peeping that goes away with this opening kill.
And as you would expect, Andrew heating up, Brent shutting down. Once it goes onto the T side. How's he alive? How have they not punished Mason there? All that utility dumped into the corner at Logs, only for Mason to just sprint over the broom and not be punished. That is ridiculous.
whole minute has just evaded them. And Sonic is just teased on the way out. It's a nade that will be one of the most malicious pats on the back that you can give.
Wolf and Andrew just threw their first nade, by the way, of the whole round at 45 seconds.
That means they're packing some more right here. Brett going to be a little bit deeper than may be construed. Has a fall-away plan if this doesn't go his way. Now it's a little bit of an undercut smoke and potentially a way in which they can find this into a different route. Brett would have to get back to the B call. Stan clears out that little corner, and now he will sit here as a lurker. He finds an investigating in-game leader. You can understand moments like that. He wanted the answers himself, and Brett had to find them all here to Wolf alone. He was in the same position last time. He got one, and then he was done. Deja vu. 5 seconds sprinting in this site. No time for the smoke to get down now. It is friend chased all the way out, and there is no time to clutch for the pull because he is immediately drawn down. 2 in a row here into overtime. Vincent, we beg the question, if Lag had more to give, hell yeah they do. They have 2 in a row, and they are not slowing down.
They've been giving it. I want to call out Brett there because he goes down without getting a kill, and it might look very silly, but Brett actually wins that round, you know, in one way or another, I think, for his team. By gathering information, he starts the B rotators on the move, and with time so very low, it makes it so that Wildcard have to, you know, take their time with that attack, and with 2 players still on the A site in defense, there's so much time for the rest of Lag to rotate in. That's why Bren never gets to start that clutch, because of Brett's forward positioning, his early fight there.
Mason opening kill on the Sonic. We don't see it from his POV, so we don't know how much of a steal that actually is, but a headshot in the smoke, you don't get those every day. LAG, they stand with a man up right here. They can't believe this feeling. An opening to potentially find all 3 in a row in this CT side. That's what they sit with.
It's basically everyone who's just taken a step back here for Wildcard, like across the board, nobody having success. Now 3v5, they sprint into A, it's 2 in defense.
Dan with the opener, peeping. He's gonna have to commit to this by hopping up, and he's gonna find a shot onto Wolf. Every time been boxed out in these A scenarios, 3 times in a row in overtime. Gotta finish it right here. Stand to put in the digits, but look who walks up into lane. It's going to be this AWP, and every single member of LAG separated. Peeping finds that frag, and now that could be the way this thing is leaning, all the way in that red and blue. Andrew walking up right here, and he's got Sandman on the other side, who's making himself known. He's not swaying away any attention. He needs more right here, and Andrew only going to get 1. They don't get 3 in a row. It's not perfect. They get 1 boxing out here. Wildcard reminds you that you're not going to have a field day, not on their home turf. This is where the common ground is found. LAG tried to challenge them right at home.
Well, the Wildcard, they only find that 1 round, and it's run through Peeping. A stunner that he hits onto Mason. If Mason, who had an advantage in that fight at long haul, as that retake starts, if Peeping doesn't win that, then it's a whole different story. It's also a fantastic clear from him as he gets out onto the balcony and looks to the right-hand side from his perspective. That clear saves the life of his teammate, and Lag lose out in no small part thanks to that man. Still, you have to give credit. Lag with 2 rounds out of 3. It's a massive plus. But it's about the same equation that they've been putting together on their own CT side. Remember, this started with such a massive advantage for Wildcard.
No, they were looking a little bit beatable, you know, Inferno performance and all over in prize picks. I think we already flushed out that, you know, you're not going to get this type of performance out of, you know, even a really good challenge. It was just an underperformance by Wildcard in a good measure. You know, you're not going to find players like Peeping, you know, guys like Stan that, you know, not uninvolved like that also often. You get them back in this series, especially to the newest pickup, leading his squad 22 frags alongside JBA here, as they will take it all the way in course right now. That's what Wildcard need more of. It's going to be have all of a lot of work probably to Peeping, going back and forth, have a lot to do as a rotator, and that's a role that's not easy to play new to this team.
Lag started this as a comeback, though. They were down 6-10. And they were onto their CT side. Lose the pistol. Looked like it was over, and they never gave up. Now they have a lead in overtime. Now they the ones who can take this, their own destiny, together. Train is possible for Lag.
Flashing themselves into brackets. It's LAG with their first play, their first snap in overtime on this down. It's going to be JBA that is going to fight and read what is exactly happening in the backfield. Is it Stan that goes down? In this case, it's Wolf that finds a little bit of revenge for how some of those pit fights went. LAG, they're going to dig their heels in right now because you know what this could potentially be? Could potentially get 15 right here. That's why Peeping knows he has to activate and does. Doesn't mean he has to just blindly and boldly commit right now. His life means the world. If you are to keep this one into an even stance, it's going to have to be all to the newest man in the server. And he almost finds Sandman right here. But Sandman maybe just on another level than anybody else here in the zip code of Inferno. He's got his 32nd, and he's got match point in the comeback effort for LAG.
Magical. A great call out of Brett. They come in punching, swinging, an uppercut even to Wildcard's jaw. As they pick up pace, they never stop. They make sure Wildcard don't know what hit him. It's been a hot minute since they've been on the CT side. It feels like a whole different type of game. Lag are playing in the first of the second half of OT. Wildcard, the ones against the wall. Wildcard, they did this before. It was Lag who took map first, or map point first. Wildcard recovered. Now they need double overtime. On this?
They might. Why wait for the perfect opportunity? Because then it will never start. You may just not be ready to go. Brett flying, and it's Sonic dying, and this may be the final stitch. LAG, they go out and they absolutely are honoring everything. Everything you need to acknowledge here is them standing to the test, having the will to pull this back, and they got to be able to finish it strong. They have a big defense that's going to be bombing back in their direction right here. As life's a game, 6-10 right now is going to try and complete their comeback. And in overtime, that wild card force. They're bullied. They're backed up in the back hall. And now this is it. A 2 versus 3 that JVA is going to equip, hopefully for no heroic efforts, but it's the Hail Mary denied. And there is Uno left in this series. It's LAG that draw this 1-1.
I mean, it's an incredible comeback story. 6 rounds to 10 is what they were looking at. And, you know, even beyond that, right? You know, Wildcard picked up another round and they found themselves in a good position. I thought for sure that they'd be able to pick those up. And yet still, they never found a chance, never found a time. Lag actually got there first at 12-11. Wildcard proc overtime, but Lag showing the business and that overtime is their friend. There's nothing other than a impressive Sandman to show for that, and a very big disappointment for me. If you look down the line on that wildcard team, we got a lot to talk about, and Paladin's here to break it all down. I'm going to toss it over to him.
I don't really know what to think of this wildcard roster after the Nuke performance and then this Inferno performance here, where it just felt like they were hopelessly out of place. The excitement factor of how they were approaching the T sides, non-negotiables, not appearing whatsoever on that T side, which is truly a problem. And then I think that the defense was my biggest issue for wildcard. Is no offensive maneuvers on the banana end of the map, no aggressive app setups, no setup for friend to potentially be a little bit more aggressive on the bracket side of the map. I mean, it was just a very passive approach to how they wanted to approach that defensive end, and it cost them. I think Brett did a lot with what he was given. Very masterfully pulling rotations in a lot of scenarios. I really did like how they were able to crunch onto this A bomb side repeatedly. And despite this, Wildcard were still able to shoot their way out of these scenarios where you commend JBA on the pit side of the map, on the A side as well. It's that one hold that really kickstarted things. And I mean, you got to talk about all of the moments that Lag had to overcome in this game. They had to overcome the awkward bug situation to get Wildcard their first round on the board on that B bomb site. You have to overcome JBA's huge quad kill on the A site where you had already done the hard job of getting into the A site with only 2 men available. And then all that being said, even on the defensive end, they had a couple of missteps. I think Mason kind of gave up a lot of key man advantages that were really unfortunate. But even despite this, pulling it to a position where they were able to notch map point first, pull it into overtime, and let Sandman go to work. I mean, just a Herculean effort from him on that B bomb site. 105 DAR. I know Vincent was mentioning that Lag kind of lives or dies on Inferno depending on how Sandman and Mason work the banana position, and they did it fantastically. They were able to exert map control pressure in terms of the early round situations. Mason was a real thorn in the side of some of these mid-round situations where he was able to jostle the T default, and Sandman was just an absolute turret on that B bomb side. Had proper support as well from his teammates, which is really impressive. So I do have to commend what Lag was able to do, but just very lax playing from Wildcard across the board that I was really unenthused by how they approached the T side as well. I mean, nothing really to write home about, bar a couple of late Stanislaw lurks on the art side of things. But where was the swagger to Sonic and peeping on the B end of the map? Where was the, opping prowess of Friend on this map? 49 DAR, 14 and 22 in this game, which was really unfortunate to me. I think Andrew had his number throughout this map of Inferno, winning the op head-to-heads, being far more mobile than Friend, even when we switched over to that defensive end into OT as well. Really have to commend his mobility on the map. Friend did not have that in his toolkit whatsoever on this map of Inferno, and that really begs the question of what wildcard do we see, what Friend do we see on Train, where you look towards an Inferno that it's supposed to be essentially their second best map, third best map in the pool, looking this hopelessly out of character. When we move over to a Train where they really have not had many repetitions on, and when they have not looked as commendable on as they should have altogether. What does that say about Wildcard in this series? I'm very concerned for them when now we turn the table over to Lag, who have, in their own right, decided to take this map into their stead. Yes, they have struggled against the likes of teams like Marsborn. It's actually their last 3 losses in a row, but wins over Getting Info automatically to me suggest that they've at least taken the time to have proper protocols on this team and win the skill check aspect of what Train has to offer for Getting Info. So I wholeheartedly think that we are in uncharted territory for Lag and for Wildcard for that matter. I am very curious how this one is going to turn out, because if we get the same performance from the likes of Andrew, if we are going to get the likes of Sandman performing in this fashion, and of course Wolf still having his moments here and there, and Brett having a solid game plan, this really causes for some concern of Wildcard bouncing out of this tournament in the quarterfinals, which would be a shocking turn of events and then some. But we were alluding to it in the pregame. I know Vincent was still saying, Wildcard will be able to shoot their way out of this best of 3, but I still had this uneasy feeling that Lag had a real opportunity at striking while the iron is hot and surprising Wildcard when they're in this complete state of disarray. They've gotten through this Inferno test, and now I feel as though they're playing with house money. They have the opportunity to just knock out Wildcard from this tournament altogether and have a date with that NRG Aether winner in that other quarterfinal. But we'll see where the chips fall after this short break. Wildcard LAG surprisingly in this third map affair. You don't want to miss this one.
Did I exactly expect to be showing my ticket? Did I exactly expect to be hopping on these tracks while we're here? It's this train. It's a best of one, practically, we have between Wildcard on LAG's turf, practically. It's like they get 2 map picks in this thing, Vincent. They couldn't be happier about where this third map shows up.
No, they couldn't. And they got some good positioning here, too. Arriving on the scene, Brett grabs his, and they still haven't figured out that there's someone upper. Wolf is still here. Wolf is still hanging, and Brett's still alive, finally down. But this one's all up to Stan, and he's so far out.
Walks this all around. LAG, they quickly construe. And this is where you're going to be able to see, I think, the very best of LAG. Saw this train a couple of times in the groups, and I think saw the strength of the rifling group outside. This is the very best map for Wolf to do his thing. When Brett was interviewed about this pickup over at Fragadelphia, he talked about letting Wolf go ahead and do his thing alone, right? In these anchor spots where, you know, on some maps more often than not, you may need to let a situation like that unfold. And on this train especially, and there was probably no better option. There was no better player in North America to pick up to do that. And to be honest with you, I think I prefer him doing that instead of fragging at E-Box. Which was,
you know,
very good as well. He's a gamer.
You know, I'll leave that one there. No opinion. But I will say that, you know, Lag certainly putting good use to all their pieces right now. Sandman having an absurdly good showing over on Inferno. Just the mark on
Sandman, Wolf, and Brett. Everybody getting a piece of the pie here. Vinny, oh no! Glock a little bit too awkward. But if that is the only asterisk, then I think it will be okay. Wildcard, they get the first go about it at a gun round, but need I remind everybody that it was Sandman, what, 32 frags deep on that Inferno, was absolutely popping off. That is the line that we need to see to get this win. LAG, they're here, showing up to this third map. They've got the easy ones out of the way. Here we go. We're into the thick of it.
Sandman might have been the reason that Lag were really in that game, that they had a chance to pull that back, but the fact is, they got to step up. Overall, Brett, actually, Sandman gets both of them. How? How is that possible?
And Brett behind JBA right now. Brett behind JBA. He's going to just get this here and hops up to Olaf. This trade catches up to him eventually. But it's Wildcard that drive a hard bargain out of the smoke, and nobody is buying what they are selling, especially not Sandman. Especially not right now.
He was blind for those, and it was through the smoke. Just by the way, just FYI. Ridiculous, that round. You know, we talk about, you know, Brett and his forward positioning. I think this is another one of those maps for Brett where, you know, he is really important from an individual perspective, far less so on Inferno. But on Nuke and on this map of Train, I think Brett does need to be a lot better of an individual. He has pulled up big time to start this one off. I was going to say, Sandman is the reason that Lag were in that map, but I tell you this, Friend is the one who needs to be very different than what he was on Inferno. He sat at 14 kills for basically the whole second half and the whole overtime period. He was non-existent on the T side. And that is crazy to say that Andrew gapped him heavily.
They're sprinting this down and at a concerning speed that has caught 2 players off guard. Andrew and his AUG, they rhyme in for a single bit. And that's an interesting middle ground. I don't know if Andrew's kind of seeing in away from the AWP here, but the scope's working out. He's got a couple off it on that range. No, not like this. Mason, he's going to get clipped. He's going to get tripped. And right here, it better not come at an easy stance. JBA and Peeping, they were signed for rounds like this. Rounds where they can just show how reckless they can be. And they pick up the first for Wildcard. They're working off their own notice.
I mean, it's Lag who are reckless. They're just swinging for fun. I don't even understand what they're thinking. They know where these guys are at. They know what they're working with. They know these Deagles are there, and they're just taking fights solo? For what purpose? What reason? I can't find one. Lag, I mean, they pay a heavy price of showing that disrespect, of not playing together.
Brett has got all the way into T-Con right here. Friend
Oh, he might
Boost
push
it up.
that.
trying to find something at hell. It's that scope that he is potentially hearing above his head. You're right. Not to see if I'm seeing the investigation on it so quickly. Brett trying to stay in the pacing. Might find a double here. Friend quickly adjusts. And right now it's Mason trying to keep pace as well. They have some good positioning right here, especially with Wolf being at the back of this bomb. And it's where it will drop, which might be in a B here, especially with JBA reaching out, not grabbing anything, calling that it's empty.
Yeah, how deep does JBA get before Lag start to notice and start to make moves? I mean, Yard is not exactly free, and the bomb's still on Friend's back here, so a little bit concerning. JBA continues to push forward. He continues to find space. As Wolf now understands that this gap has occurred, but he's about to run into big problems, and as he sees the bomb, that's going to give Wolf an indicator, but at a heavy cost.
Yeah, JBA here finished it outside of Icon onto the AUG at back red. He walks out from the exact same position, and he gets another transition to an end of round. It's all the way up on the board because of this man. JBA gets his hands dirty there. Impact showing up, and this is really good pace for Wildcard to be meeting, and honestly really kind of spoiling the course for LAG so far.
I mean, I think Lag spoiled their own dinner right there. They make a truly boneheaded couple of decisions.
Ooh.
Up against the pistols, and now with guns, better decisions, but the price is heavy. They've already paid it.
See how much strength these pistols have in comparison. Molly trying to cut off that type of peak. They want to deal with one at a time. Brett dealt with up close. They're keeping this thing simple. They're keeping it sweet. That's the pack. They will sweet. JBA and Friend holding on to this back line. And at this time, they're going to be just taking the fights. I think they just have to acknowledge that at the point at which they've walked, they've already found quite some space. And now they have to go and do some searching.
Yeah, it's a good recovery already. Dan ate the brunt of a bit of damage. Had a nade, I think, as well. Lost at his feet, but he's been handed the op. Put his faith in the rest of the team, and they walk out onto B with Wolf on low HP.
Wolf fortunately finds nothing there on the Deagle. Sandman, their last real strength in this round with his $700 pistol. Back to a tie, we will get this game. It's JBA and co. See, without his efforts, may find a couple of these frags on the back end, but it was Peeping and Friend that were in course dealing with everything in Brown Halls. Because that's where LAG decided to pitch it this time. Man in his lowly MP9, standing around 1v5.
Paladin brought up on the desk post map number 2 that I mentioned that I think that Wildcard, regardless of what the state of their tactical level is right now, should be able to shoot their way out of this game. The fact that that wasn't possible over on Inferno is problematic.
It's
but
really concerning.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That being said, this is a better looking Wildcard right now than we saw in that last map, and as much as they don't have a lot of tape on Train, they played it once at Playground, but I mean that was against Furia and they got smashed.
Yeah.
And that's a different roster. So, like, there's basically no real data to fall back on. This is still a team that has a whole lot to show on this map, despite what Lag have been putting together over the last week or two.
Friend, he has an aggressive peek all the way out there at a 5v5 from Pop Dog. There's no control of this Brown Halls. They have everything to Pop Dog right now. Wildcard, working these last 3 rounds, have earned a lot of respect and all of this space back. 4 players here inside of this A site, and they lose Wolf, who finds nothing on his lonesome. And maybe this tiptoe out down below. It's going to be a double aggression. from Mason and from Brett. They're going to have to find these players, nades in their hands, and Sonic may just line up in course with Friend. They get the fortunate point of that, but how much further do they send it? It's Mason that does only get a single, but right here, they put it into such a better scenario. I mean, it's 2v3 right now, at a point at which you can really manage.
Well, Friends already putting together a far better performance than we saw back on Inferno. Refrag after refrag in this one, as he found that opener as well. New box upper is not exactly sturdy cover, as he found out the hard way. Andrew spotted and removed. It is open doors at the Bravo base. We'll see what Sandman can do, but I'm going to be honest, Mark, this is a long way without any utility, with really not much to speak of. He's not got a kit. One might be down up here in Pop.
See if Sandman can catch Friend slipping. An adjustment out from the young pull, and he'll get back into his box as well. A 4K out of Friend, who at least stirring the pot here on this train, has 4 in a row out for wildcard, has a scope to tote as well, and everything looking sharp right now. Stan and the boys, they want to swallow up this train.
That's what I said coming into round 1. Friend cannot be gapped by Andrew like he was so significantly on Inferno. We're already seeing that very different. Andrew not having near the opportunity, but it was the T-side rifling that was specifically pretty horrible. Inferno T-side op is always tough. Like, your opper is always having a difficult time there, but T-side on train, it's a whole different matter.
The Brett attempt denied there. That was a little bit earlier on. The first gallop about it at TCon. Here's part 2. Got 3 players in here this time. A lot larger cast. And right now, they're going to be seeing through at least to a 3v3. Getting a couple of guns off it, what have you. But the B site will be broadened. Friend has that Molotov all the way out towards Z. And they will put a pitch in this. And LAG will likely stay away with what's valuable.
Yeah, I mean, they have a ton of
Dude, it is storming here. I'm sorry. That probably just came through on the broadcast.
Yeah, that one was loud.
And I'm a Missouri boy. Mason and I being from sort of the same city here. He may be feeling some of the heat as well. So hopefully he doesn't drop from the server or anything, but we're getting it out here. We will know. If he drops, I'll drop, most likely.
Yeah. Either way, hopefully things stand steady over in your neck of the woods, but
yes,
call this one a huge win for Mason and crew. As Lag take out 2 AKs from the equation. Only a couple of kills, but maintain some Kevlar for Sandman. Like, all these little details, they do add up in the long term. But it is a strong showing right now from Wildcard. 5 rounds is already feeling like a good half, even if things don't move further forward for them.
Andrew now gets to bring out this AWP. They get Ario on the mic for a couple of seconds. Vins gets to speak as well. I'm sure that's where, a lot of the, support of the pickups of a couple of these pulls, happen to have some support.
This is true.
MHL being Polish as well. I'm not mistaking myself, correct?
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
Wildcard. Off the back of that, let's see where they go. It's already been an explosive start for JBA peeping Friend. It's a team effort at the minute. Guns back in the hands of Lag. Andrew gonna take that top step forward. He's got the big green.
5 in a row. And this wound yet to be patched. But right now, they got one hell of a band-aid. But I gotta hope this one's gonna stick. It's a freebie for Brett and Mason. He's gonna be killing everything in sight into his crosshair until Peeping says goodnight. He found like a gap of solace in that Molotov, and I think he was even surprised. A really good response there by LAG, and one that might get the blood pumping.
I mean, Brett, just like an oopsie moment, finds a
Whoops.
headshot. One bullet is all he sent
Say you
through,
meant to.
and he found the headshot.
On
That'll bail them
purpose.
out. I think that one of Lag's biggest upsides to their CT is their hold of T-Con. Like, anyone trying to get out of T-Con fast against Lag is having a real tough time. Their protocols are solid.
And now they're going to be going for this thing straight up. So they're beginning around protocols, and these first 30 going to have to be solid as they stand. Big nade damage done early, as it's Wildcard that knows they don't have to fully commit to this. They can cut back, and they do through the smokes back into safety.
Well, it's less that Wildcard, moved away and maneuvered around those setups, but more that Lag let them have it. Then they push and pull. It's like a tide. They go back and they look for more. Brett sees nothing home. Now Andrew holds the line. That's great work, and you can see it cost them, right? Peeping and Stan take a lot of damage for that.
Tiptoeing. They can tat right out of T-Con. Brett on the other side of this coin. He's about to see a shoulder, and Sandman is going to take a headshot. How much more can they go ahead and steal right off the peel? It's served on a silver platter to the in-game leader of LAG, who right now is showing exactly what tenacity they had at the start of this T side, and it wasn't just a tease. This is a great look into LAG versus Wildcard. They have more life in the series than I think we ever thought. Honestly, on this Inferno is going to be so close for them, but a team like Wildcard can absolutely close the gap. But I'll be honest with you, I always thought this was going to be a 2-0. I thought Wildcard were likely going to close on that Inferno. There just had to be a response at some point, right? It's been unbelievable so far. Well, Wildcard, they're going to need to open both eyes, stare this in the face, and know that, a Tier 2 North America team is pushing up real good against one of the best they have to offer.
Ooh, that's a great second flashbang. Little layer to the details right there. Flashbang slows him down. Brett's going to go 1 for 1. That's aggression from him in another area of the map. Pop this time. Should mean Sonic has a gun to recover, yes. Eventually, he'll put hands on that. The investigation over at Ivy has stalled. Smoke and a flash was enough to stop Wildcard. But 4-on-4 should favor the T's. But look who they're going to have to best. The man of the hour in many ways. Over on Inferno, Andrew consistently showing up. Now he is getting some support. Mason joins him. The B site under threat.
And ticking. Wolf gonna be aware that he's out of spot. They're going out Pop here. Surprise on this A play, but they just may be turning this ship around. Andrew, he's gonna be reading this well. It was just one kill, and they couldn't tell. Mason, he's net Sonic in the basket, but can he put a second in the casket? They've doubled up on that line for LAG. Friend holding this into Z. Sandman with a little bit of room to breathe is now just busted out. What a great turnaround there. Thought Wildcard were doing a little bit too much to be exact, but they recover any way they want it.
I mean, maybe they were, maybe they won't. I think that the fact they get that kill at E-Box, doesn't matter where they go so long as it's together, as long as the dots are connected. And to be clear, they did connect those dots very nicely. So, call it what you will, but a solid round from Wildcard where they, from start to finish, put together a winning strategy. Early look towards Ivy, that was shut down. They maneuver away, it's a quick pivot. They had themselves a question of what to do, how to go. They pulled rotations efficiently, got the kill on A, and then ended up going B anyway. Only allowed 1 for Mason up in Cloud. Lag move into the final round of this half with a double AWP.
Friend's got the spawn, but he's taking it up top. He wants to try and catch Wolf here if he decides to go long range. Wolf, he's going to be just close and personal and has to kind of turn toe and dive because it is a big jive so quickly all the way up into the brown halls. It's Wildcard. They want to dash their way to a 7th, that they're going to be going right out into B. Mason, he's found one on this, but it's Wolf that's found out with nothing. They knew that this anchor was going to be worth something, so that's why they were targeting him. But guess what? It is everybody else you had to be worried about alongside. They were tunnel visioned in on finding the anchor, and in that they have slipped up. But Sonic, he drops through. It is noise made, and Brett, he's right above him, and he brings it back to a tide. We're 6-all through 12 here on Train. Our third map just gets richer.
And you know what? You would think 6-6, that's a great T-half, right? You know, that's probably the default that you're feeling like for Wildcard, and I don't disagree, but it's very interesting, Lag, the work that they put in. Their CT side, not the shining star, not the bright light. It's their T side that typically takes the cake that's under the spotlight. So as we transition to Lag on the T side, that's a spicy prospect. One that we're going to have to see if it is a reality, because I think against these sometimes better competition, you know, look at Marsborn, right? It's the last 3 games they played against that squad, and it's all 3 losses here on Train. It's their T side that I think has struggled a little bit.
Brett doing a really good job individually pulling up into this game, because I spent the better part of the pregame that we had before this one, I mean, toting up Wolf as probably one of the best individual Train players in North America. He is. That was the focus there, to deal with this B player, and all that he could do alone, it was just figured out. Now it's LAG. Go out here onto the offense. It's going to have to be one hell of a plan put together. They're going to be reaching in to be on this pistol round, and they're prepared here, as one smoke is going to be separating the process. But they may read this well, because, I mean, this is what they just considered over on that Wildcard side, yet they make it busted for this. It's only 2 players here left on A. Friend!
Oh!
He's right here, and Sonic has got a 3rd. Oh my goodness, this has just ran into a final front door, locked and slammed in the face. The second half is draped with red and blue. Wildcard are here to just challenge you. You have all of the reason to doubt LAG now. Wildcard just gave you 5 good ones.
I mean, this is specifically why I was saying I think Wildcard should be able to shoot their way out. Lag do nothing wrong. They pulled the rotators. There was basically 4 players on B. You know, they had a Z player, but, you know, Friend was alone for all intents and purposes on that A site. And he hit stunner after stunner. One tap after another.
What? Snap of the wrist. It's Brett on that Tech 9, and he will hit his, get a second as well. Thought it was a flash. Oh, it was in the pan. It is insane out of this man himself. You want to be giving your opera the baton to sprint with in this second half. I have lost track of Friend already. That is 7 frags in 2 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was saying again and again, right? Friend got to be that guy here on Train. He is indeed. Back from the Nuke performance that we had seen. It's not even really required yet any support in the second half. Guns come out. Brett with a couple.
Keeping opener. That's trying to maintain this space. You know, when I envision keeping on Wildcard, it's playing spots like this in front of your face at E-Box, and it's showing you exactly why he was the next up in North America to take a contract like that. That's smooth as butter. Brett burning, and now his Sonic that turns over another one of these tables. It's a 3rd that finds the way of Wildcard in these first 45 seconds.
Well, I'm really leaning into their pacier options in this first gun round. It's a mistake considering Wildcard's preparation. Peeping with the credit, but there is more to it than that. I think Lag trying to test the waters and see what this T-Con hold actually has to bring. Wildcard have the protocols in place to play defensively. Tested and passed with flying colors. Wildcard are in the green.
Wolfie dropped down to the red and further. Andrew all left alone. At least can square up Sonic. This thing just keeps headed south. And an impending distance. Andrew sprinting in. 3 crosshairs on the other side. Meets a duo of Stan and JBA marking on it. 9 that are earned here, rightfully so, by Wildcard. They turn this half over. They absolutely demolish you in a pistol round, and they have not looked back since.
There's an idea here from Lag. Very specific utility that's being bought up. To me, purchased as each individual given the role on what they need to be doing, on who they need to be handling. Smoke's out for Sandwich, but they're leading towards B first and foremost. But these Tech 9s, they can pivot at a moment's notice.
B play, something simple, something easy. Out here with the Tech 9s. Gotta find something to turn your head over, and they've given no reason for you to believe in this A site, in an Ivy play, out of T-Con. They rotate 3 players here, practically 4 with the speed that Friend gets in the way, and they just wipe you faster off the board than I have ever seen.
Shout out that upper molly. That upper molly actually dismantled the timing on that play in and of itself. It was the single piece of utility that Wildcard threw that round that changed the game monumentally. Makes it so that the flashes aren't timed with actually Lag pushing out because the upper player has to wait. So the whole game plan is stalled for just a couple seconds, and those flashes are no longer effective.
Mason finding an opener this time, but no real, room, no real estate. Actually gotten off that. It's just a number out of the process, but a large one at that. Peeping found out quickly.
Yeah, don't undersell that. It's absolutely important, but unfortunately, Brett, I feel like they had the space to work with, and he wasn't alone, but Andrew gets smoked, and so there's no spacing for a trade. A counterbalance that Friend has just provided for Wildcard as Lag look to take the timing that they have at B. This is still good if they can go fast. The bomb is getting into position, but they gotta move.
Got 60 seconds to make things happen here, but you got to execute in the next 10 if you want a timing here on this B site. It may pivot elsewhere. Stan gonna go on his investigation. He looks through the glass, and right now gonna see Wolf on a swing. Mason, he's there to try and clean things up. They still have Sonic here in the bomb site as well, so now you have separated this pack, drained it from 4 down to 2, and this is a rough standstill that you need to be at, Friend. Considering the impossible here, but that's why we like him.
He'll go. Head up B, JBA the first to swing, but he doesn't need to. Or maybe he does. Misses the mark, and now Friend's got the only line that matters.
Didn't put his finger down on Andrew, but will slam on the Sandman. And now he will get the same treatment after all. Just had to wait a couple more seconds. The patience pays off. And right here, it is 11. That is going to be drenched with Wildcard. You're all the way out here at a point at which you got out here at this train on this T side. We thought it was going to be probably the best of Brett, the best of what LAG had to offer. And they have pitched nothing out here. 6 cents sitting in this half. And it's been all a Friend server so far. I mean, the way that he has just taken over is memorable, man. What Paladin said earlier that, this is a tier 2 European player, right? He should be, clichély coming into NA and just absolutely wrecking. That is what he has done on this 3rd map, and that is how he wants to approach a semifinal.
It's Wildcard making good decisions, though, too. That last round, There was a late smoke for Sandwich over at A that was meant to hold the A players in place. And instead of just like sitting and waiting and like investigating T-Con, they just like doubled up pop, push back in, and find a kill. That's really intelligent from Wildcard. That's the right move considering the situation they were in. And now, Lag's back against the wall, as you say. Put the onus on them to move forward. Piggy's blind. It doesn't matter, though.
And he gets a third out here. Dream it up. It may look better than this. Not when Peeping is here. Not when he can make it a reality. Toning at the top of this train. He'll exactly venture over for this. Just hand over the 12th round. Brett will resist all he can. Around that, no point in waiting for it. Friend even gets to find his 20th. And it's Wildcard here. Space and point. They wick away any worries here. They should be finding case in point to a semifinal on the dot of 19.
Yeah, what does this bring? It's a duality of Wildcard right now. From map to map, questions burned into the back of my head of what this team looks like right now. Good and bad. Back to fantastic. Peeping in front at the forefront. Group towards Ivy. There's an op locked in on that location. How can they test that? But it's moved away. Moved away at the last minute. Just a little bit of utility at T-Con. Pulls the op back, and it's actually a flash that Friend is teeing up to get his teammates into T-Con proper.
Well, if this is going to be a bounce out smoke, that's going to have to take the attention of JBA. Stan communicates that there could be a bit of a crawl here in the back lines. Stan whips back and forth. You better not get timing right now. Brett could find this before you actually find him off guard, and at that point, it's too late. Friend here going to have to hit a couple of quick scopes. This could be LAG finding to the ropes. I mean, practically when it could be too late. It's Pop that is just going to be dropped out here as Sonic collects a triple. He wants to make sure that this is it. Andrew gets a double. Continuing to pull across these tracks with a little bit of solace, a little bit of something. It finishes with the triple here to find 7. Still LAG kicking on this train.
Yeah, it's a little bit of recovery right there for Andrew. Maximum that he's been able to put forward in this map is that triple. Wildcard not bothered yet. Big bag that they reach into that has max cash almost. Start to dig deep though. But Lag, this is familiar territory. 6-10, remember, was the scoreline back on Inferno. Pretty similar number of rounds that they're going to have to bring back now. 5 straight from here, just for overtime.
This is going to have to be some of their best ball, but LAG have done so much in this series. I think this type of performance is one that's going to put a really good exclamation point on their run in Thunderpick. Obviously, you know, win or lose, it would be wild considering the win, but the way it's facing, not looking too great. But Andrew continues to bake himself. He's cooking into this ace site. Sonic, he almost had 3 reasons last time to put you out of belief, but he is wiped. Now this could be a little bit more by LAG. Friend trying to find a couple of these threats outside of the smoke. Gets Wolf on this back end, and it's Wolf that's also kind of continued to struggle here. A point of weakness, but now it is a crack that they see, and it is JBA that won't be able to fully throttle into it. It is a good point to stand. LAG, they got 2 in a row kicking for them now.
Wildcard not flat broke, but they do have to make some concessions coming in to this next round. I was going to say that they got to lean on Wolf. That's who needs to step up the most, in my opinion. You know, Andrew will do. Competent on the rifles, back on Inferno. Great on the op on the CT side. That's the Andrew we didn't see for Lag last time, but his rifles there break open A. Let Lag stay strong.
Boxing out. They're just continuing to throw hands. Right here, Peeping. He's gonna get a second actually on the FAMAS. Impressive stuff considering you may just get lucky after all. LAG, they put 3 in a row at the end of this train. It may be stopping here. Coming to one final halt. JBA, contact made here into Z. Right now, it's about picking your poison. Or about confidently picking your path. JBA may be able to box out Andrew here and does. Wolf all alone here. And after such efforts, gracious through the groups, but caught in the end. 3 maps in wildcard. They put out the risk. They put out the hope from LAG. They will be the first into our second semifinal here, waiting for a result from Aether and NRG right down here, right after this. But commiserations to Lag, who put up one hell of a performance, rip off a map in overtime against wildcard.
Unfortunate that this is the way that Lag had to fall away in the quarterfinal, but we finally got the wild card that we were trying to see happen in that first map, right? One with the dominant CT sides, the clear role dominance across the board when you go top down from the roster compared to their opponents, and that's what we got towards that second half. I'll say that the first half, their T side defaulting, not the flashiest, not the most glamorous. There was nothing too insane to write home about, but I think the independence of certain players doing their job looked pretty well. It got them over the line, is what I'll say. And then we move over, and then it just becomes the friend show from top to bottom. And I kind of spoke about how chained he felt on Inferno, and it definitely felt like the shackles came off once we swapped over. And he got that there was like 7 kills in 2 rounds or something like that, and it just felt like smooth sailing from there. And that's what really you want to see out of the new blood here, to prove that this Fuzi sus thing is in the rear view mirror. They'll say that this was a good decision because now they're on the team. And Vincent, I'm still not completely convinced. I still really am not on the I'm still considerably on the fence moving into the semi. But at least we see a proof of concept at certain stages of this best of 3.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to stay on the fence until we get some further information about like what the plan is, because my understanding is Stan is a stand-in right now, and that's how I'm treating it. Understanding that he's still calling at the moment, but regardless, until we get more information about that, that's where I sit. But I can agree with you. That looked like Friend was very much able to take his own timings and work with what he wanted. And listen, it's the Opera's playground. Train is a map that if your Opera isn't doing well, you probably do need to look and see, okay, what's going wrong, because that can't happen. Also want to shout out Peeping, who was doing basically as well as what Brett did. Brett was really dominant on playing E-Box. Peeping was just as good. I was like, in I think second to last round there, like Peeping is just like full baiting his teammate at camera. And I'm like, well, this is the type of guy that Peeping can be. He's going to get you 2 kills and like shoot his way out of a situation like that. Even when he is like set up to do so, it's pretty fun to watch. It's cool Counter-Strike, even if I am sitting on that fence.
Yeah, and he's doing it with like underhanded weaponry. He's doing it with like an MP9. He's doing it with the FAMAS. He can do it in a lot of different scenarios. And I think that's what's impressive in the proof of concept of pairing Peeping with Stan. It's like you do have this powerhouse rifle that's like trying to develop and take that next step. And he very clearly has the ability to do so, but we'll see what they can do further on in this bracket once they play some stiffer competition, because we've got another quarterfinal, folks. NRG taking Aether. We'll have a little bit of a break, and when we come back, we'll have that final quarterfinal on the docket for you. You don't want to miss this one.
force the kill in the last second. Mirage right to the smoke. Look at him go.
So our final quarterfinal here, the Thunderpick World Championship North America Series 2. One more spot up for grabs in this bracket between NRG and Aether. I'm your host / analyst Paladin. Joined with me is Mark and Vincent as always, and we'll get straight into it because we want to get this one underway. And we'll start the conversation with NRG on one end. And you look at this roster and you wonder, where are we at this point? Because we've made a lot of changes. Carson is now in, Hext is out, Zodic is in, OC is out. I'll keep it as open-ended as possible, Vincent. What's the heat check feeling like for you with this team at this point?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I think that Exotic looks legit. I think there was a lot of very understandable questions for me when this initially happened, and I felt like the gamble was understandable. I think the Carson move, that's one that I don't really understand, and I still don't understand. But we'll talk about that in a minute, because Exotic, I didn't know how that would look, but they said, hey, we're picking this guy up, and we're going straight to Frag 19. And look, NRG underperformed. They were top 8. They got beat by Blue Jays in the quarterfinal. But Exotic was playing damn well. He farmed it at Fragadelphia. And I think that, that heat check, that's legit. The Carson situation's a whole different story that we'll probably get into in a little bit. But I think the takeaway is I think that's a downgrade.
Yeah, I think the consensus is that Exotic would not have been brought onto the team without his buddy of Carson, which that is the running theory. And I don't necessarily think it was worth it in that situation, because I have not ever been very high on Carson altogether. I think that he definitely made his value known on Nouns when he was donning the IGL role, and I think Adren really worked with him for a long time, and I admire that willingness to go after that role like that. But now that he is solely an aggressive rifler, you compare him to the work that Hex has been able to provide for NRG previously, and now would you see his work on M80 also looking pretty well done. It's definitely one to think about. Okay, how can we upgrade on that position later down the road? But for the clean long and short of it, it's a solid team. The core still looks solid. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Mark, talk to me about this Aether squad and talk to me about any potential conversation and an upset in this series.
So, Paladin, this is one of the newer teams that has showed up on the, Challenger League Tier 2 block in North America, in the last 9 months or so. Used to have Talon moving right next to Misha, who's the in-game leader and sort of captain of this team. They came together after a couple of Fragadelphia lands. We know Talon real well. That was a guy that had literally been playing like 15 seasons of Advance, like finishing so far. But he recently took a step back with Misha at around the beginning of June. You're wondering, well, I see Misha here today. When the VRS invites went out for this event, it is Misha that was also on the roster. So similar story that we, had just before with Fang. And so you're going to be seeing here Misha, but this is an exciting squad. But I feel like really the storyline here that got soured, in my opinion, this was supposed to be and destined to be the playoff spot of the Supernova Comets. They had close series, but ultimately series where they slipped up, Paladin. You take a look at the Veto here, and I'm wondering what you think about this, Vinny.
What do you think, Vincent?
I think that for me, I think that Inferno is an interesting spot. I don't know that I agree with Aether's pick to go here. They beat Lycus in the group stage of this tournament on this map. And I think it was okay, but like, I wasn't that excited, I guess, to be honest with you. NRG move into a Mirage that's been really good for them. It's also been decent for Aether. But I actually think the exciting part comes with if we find a Dust 2. That's like, for me, the real possibility, but I don't think we're going to get there. I think NRG are going to take this into.
I completely agree. I think if you are in Aether in this scenario, I think they should have just chanced the overpass. What's the worst that could happen?
Why not?
mean, in this situation, you would have left one of the two open. Granted, you don't have an official on yourself for either overpass or ancient, but I mean, they were giving you overpass in this circumstance after the ban of ancient. And yes, you can say Nitro has previously called on that map very well across his career.
Yes.
You can agree that Daps has done probably a boatload of preparation in terms of how they want to approach that map as well. So yes, it would have been a risk either way, but you're going into territory that I think NRG are pretty comfortable in. I think they've got some standard protocols that work really well, that I don't really think that they're going to be pushed into any uncomfortable territory throughout this series. And that's my biggest takeaway, is that if you want to start a conversation, you need to find an uncharted territory that NRG have to breach, and you're not going to get that in this veto. Is there any player here, Mark, that I want to look at specifically for the Aether camp moving forward throughout this best of 3?
Yeah, definitely Micro here. I mean, this is a team that did also make a change in the offseason. I just talked about that step back by 2 players, right? One of the other pickups that they had was formerly known as Arcade, going by Juna right now, who actually took over the IGL role and unfortunately can't be here. So it's Micro that's op IGLing and has been doing a hell of a job on the op. I mean, he's been going crazy. And next door to Tender, right? They bring a whole lot of experience to a team that was, I mean, extremely lacking Paladin. You know, none of these players had played in Challenger League before they had, you know, exactly popped up into a range like that. And, you know, I think they bring, you know, a form of class, you know, to their performance. They are really potent players, those two.
Well, we'll see. Well, we'll see if Aether can hang around the top dogs of NRG in this bracket. We start on Inferno. Vincent and Mark, take it away.
Good news. Good news to see that Aether are confident, at least. That's what it tells me for their pick is into Inferno. They're confident in what they can bring. That being said, I don't know that I am feeling the same level of confidence. I think I agree when you're talking about who to look at. Actually, low-key, I think Misha can provide a whole lot, even though he is technically a sub right now and stepping away from the game.
I got some due diligence to do for our friend JRT. He was very adamant at the last group's cast we did that Aether, they had a hell of a chance to take a team in the playoffs really to a rut's end. And when he found out he was NRG, he was like, well, NRG's been looking rocky recently. So there was some belief on the Aether end. And to be honest with you, you know, I don't know if their best chance onto a Mirage here. I don't know if I necessarily agree with Paladin reaching onto an Overpass, but like right now, it's this Dust 2 that I think they should have, you know, maybe have that challenge on. Who knows? Exotic. He's been so deadly, especially on these pistol rounds. When I got to watch him, I mean, all of these times been coming down to where this gets in its wit's end. And his teammate right here in Pit has had so many praises about him. He goes back and forth with Nitro here as they survive in the site. Exotic with the double, and there's only one casualty out here.
Let me get a little of what JRT's smoking. That must be some good stuff. That's how I feel about that take. That's what I think. Yeah, like
you don't believe?
No, not at all. Yeah, I really don't, and it's not really because I don't think like this group of players can find upsets. It's just more because you're like NRG. You got an IGL that's literally not doing that job as soon as they can play with their next 5. Like you're also working with 2 subs and constantly changing those subs too. Yeah, I would say that this is like the least reasonable upset that you could even talk about of these quarterfinals.
M80 versus the Coop. That was one of the most heated you've seen. But NRG out here.
You say that, but the Coop beat M80 on a map like a week and a half before that game.
What happened the map before that?
Don't ask me questions. Anyway, it was a 30-0. All good. I mean, yeah, but like, still, I think that's kind of where I'm at. I just think that, you know, NRG, shaky as they were, I think that the Carson question is like very clearly there because it's mostly because he's changing like his role so significantly again.
Yeah, man. It's like, I mean, Dare was the aggressive rifler on that team, you know, and it's more for the case of what we've discussed, right? He has that personal connection over to Exotic, who I agree with you. I mean, looking at the stats, this guy's legit, man.
That's crazy. If I'm NRG, the organization, I'm telling him to kick rocks. I actually am. I don't know, man. OC wasn't that bad. That is a if that's
OC
how it
was
went down.
great.
No,
OC
no,
was
he
great.
wasn't. He failed big in the major.
And they couldn't forgive him. So, gave the turn to Exotic. Bro, he's going to be clipping at the wit's end of this. George on his way to retake. Misha and Arius to get their hands on a
What?
post plant. Dinked. And George, he's going to have to think about this one twice. He's trying to serve up a little bit of room here. He's got a flash in hand for these players here at lane, potentially. Now they are ready to go. Arius gets this down, but it's all onto Misha, the closer. And he's going to get fought from both sides. It's Carson that's going to have to go and take the head off. He does. Immediately flicks right onto the bomb. Has a 3-0 opener for NRG.
Nice work. I was getting a little bit concerned when whoever was coming through market there, or excuse me, market, coming through wine, had a situation where he was behind the wall and got dinked anyway. All's well that ends well. That flashbang does enough to help out, and NRG, the double up to port side, successful for Aether. But yeah, I think that Exotic definitely was worth the risk at the very minimum, and it's really looked very good. Much better than I could have ever imagined, considering I knew he was good, but it's taken this step up with ease.
What a perfect cue, Vinny. He gets a double right there. Nitro cleans up in lane. This man back into competition is looking damn fine cross side from his IGL. And you know, he has one hell of a story. You know, and to be honest with you, like, it's one that I've had to ask around about, you know, do my research, because Vincent, I was telling you, I started playing around like 2021, 2022 times when, you know, it was the last time we saw Exotic in competition, right? You know, didn't come to land. I mean, I know there was some controversies around this guy. Well, exactly what you mentioned, right? Into NRG, that was like one of the first things you saw. His reveal was with the gaming chair.
Yep.
That one was for the history books.
Yeah,
That's definitely going to be in like a CSGO rewind or something.
It absolutely is the most legendary
PS2
player announcement ever. For the most absurd reason, to be fair, but very central are Aether towards the apartments in this, and that nade, I mean, crazy that Tinder and Misha both eat it. Arius was a little further forward, so he misses the brunt of it. Forward hold for NRG on Banana. And for the time being, they're like jiggling it. They're seeing nothing. This is very clear that Aether are leaning A.
Smoke on the bottom end. That will cost NRG the respect and real estate. But bomb sprints back.
4 stack today, though. And that's a brutal smoke.
Ready for this. I mean, it's going to be this pop right through. They're going to have to send it because of that railing. Bind down on the turf. Knife pulled. You know what that means. George stands aside 30 seconds. And I feel like I was trying to cue that up way sooner, because 25 seconds. And where is this pop? They're waiting for the smoke to go out. And now you get the comeback from lane. So they were just trying to pedal this to the patience. And they have a late moto smoke out. George has got one, finally burned and turned by Misha. It is Nitro, same vein. And they clean up Exotic because of the missed smoke. This is going the right way for Aether, even where it gets scrappy.
This is going to be sounding really mean. I feel like Aether accidented themselves into a crazy timing there. We'll see what this retake looks like. Bros just picked up an off, so maybe he's not going to go for it. Has the kit, though, and so does Carson on the other side. But yeah, smoked out and off. If they give him something, they'll move on this. But otherwise, Aether have packed this one up. To go order 1 round, please.
Ooh.
And they walk out with their meal. But yeah, I don't know, man. NRG had a 4 stack today, and like you said, the timing was such that it looked like Aether really wanted to go, and then they couldn't go because of that smoke. And they waited long enough that NRG started to second guess themselves, and they rotate 2 additional players to A. So it's only Nitro in pit with 1 other guy there. I just feel like I didn't feel that intentional from Aether, but you'll take it.
You'll absolutely take it. Person that walks by, back to B. To manage this to go. No nades hitting too far home. As he plays alongside the Dane. You could have saw that move coming either.
Yeah, that was a big surprise, but in a positive manner for sure. So this is a very awkward, not very popular position that Exotic currently has with this op. It's very much his style.
Likes it up close and personal. And he's going to get back. An opening kill scurrying away. In 1:10. What I hear about exactly how they like to get down. It's the same sort of peak here at Car. It's aggressive. It's unpredictable. They get out at least with one. Rocking with some sort of man advantage, they can go ahead and afford something like that. But what you leave is all bro all day on B.
Bro throws a flash so good that Carson can change targets 3 times before dying. Smoke placed in their way. Aether don't really have the tools to move back into this. As George joins the fray. Bro's defense set up. There's no flashes, just these smokes to work their way in, and they double smoke CT.
We'll flash over. It's Bro that is now going to bide his time, waiting for a peek. What a stab out here by the Great Dane. Misha can breathe for another couple of seconds, but he has a sense about it. The 6th of it. Gonna hop on for the 5th here soon. NRG are in gear today.
Yeah, NRG, not necessarily a weak spot for them is this Inferno. I know they lost it to Blue Jays, but they were willing to play it at the major pretty consistently. They do a good job on this map, I think, in general. Sometimes they leave themselves like pretty exposed. Like occasionally they're a little too passive, but I think that's changing with Exotic being into this roster. That felt like one of their issues on this map with OC, but as you just saw, Exotic, and as I was mentioning, he likes to play more aggressive. He likes to be forward-facing, and even in these tight scenarios, he's not got a lot of room to maneuver.
Thought a fine line he would have to go ahead and grab. Decent start he has to this Inferno that is not siding away from NRG practically at all. We'll have to see how Aether pitch it here. And I know that you were talking about this to me, you know. Obviously, it's a really good story for Aether to be streaking into the playoffs with, you know, we'll call it like 1.5 subs, you know?
Yeah.
For like the average that there was. Anyhow, that's also kind of like a bit of a muggy mark to it. I mean, how much of a threat are you going to be able to put up against NRG without full strength? I mean, that's why I was hyping up Micro and Tender so much for, you know, the little experience that they do have with this roster, but all the experience they do bring on and, you know, the star power that they do bring. It is Clip, Sarah, and Arias that have had big maps in path to playoffs. You're going to have to beg for him today, like Sandman had on this nuke. Here comes George to compute. He's got a triple, and I think he was about to find the quad. Micro just fades away for a moment. Punisher already came through. Bomb
So
just picked
easy.
back up, but
It's
I don't
so
think they
easy
have
for
time
George.
at all.
No, they don't. It's so simple for George when Aether have constantly in every gun round, basically, at the 30-second mark, not had it positioned to execute, and also not had the utility to execute. It's been a little bit frustrating, I would only imagine, from like trying to call this, like to not have those resources. Definitely hurts. And yeah, like just to maybe tack on one more statement about that for Aether. The problem is, like, if they're practicing at all, who are they practicing with? If they're practicing with like the not real team, then like it's probably only giving it half as much as you would otherwise. And if you're practicing with the real team, well then, you know, the team playing in this event is kind of in trouble. Like, it sucks to be practicing one thing and then doing a whole different thing in officials. It's just really complicated, which is why I'd imagine that they're probably just not doing much of anything.
Comes Nitro approaching it. Arias on that other side. Gonna have to work hard for it. Exotic also misses. Could be tripped up on this op. Tender standing in the fire. We'll find this kill. And an AK, or excuse me, op on the body of Exotic. He might shift this AK back into the hands of his Deagle teammate that was so close, but now has the bomb in his hands as he sprints away. Look, to be honest with you, I know it's been awkward for them. I've even seen, you know, where the officials are having to be played in other margins, and it's like, you know, you can have Arcade play in these other competitions, but I believe they were still missing him for one day. Then the the coach had to play in the advanced match, and it was really just a heartthrob. Or it was the Elite Cup, excuse me.
Yeah, that's right. Good
All
entry.
these leagues now, I can't keep track.
It's getting difficult. Misha, Tender, and Arias all down low, but Micro has already put the question of a retake to bed. Micro getting that kill means that George and Nitro just tuck tail into the apartments and will hold what they've got. They find the op. It was dropped there by Exotic. Speaking of, pretty bold decision and what I'd consider a mistake for him to stick around to try to fight. You know, they had the support for him to escape, or at least, you know, the utility in place. That Molotov, a flashbang as well. Like, that's the whole point of the Rifler being in Boiler, to support Exotic at long haul. But he sticks around, pays the price, and Aether with a big gun round victory.
You get that second spaced up on the board. Aggressive stances by NRG are going to be walloped. Obviously, you got some aimers on the other side, if nothing else there. And they're definitely going to be showing you their best that they can, man. Arias on that Dust 2 that was had against Lycus all the way out in a stomping. He was absolutely disgusting out there. It was a 13-1.
Yeah, I mean, Lycus just
rough
having,
stuff for Lycus.
Yeah, they are just not looking like they...
What are they called now? Arrival 7?
Ooh, that's what it is. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I remember.
Newly signed, newly wedded, but we watched them as Lycus in this team, in this tournament, excuse me.
Correct. And I think still technically they're under HLTV. I'd assume we're going to get fixed soon.
It's a very new break of the news.
New organization, if I'm not mistaken, too, to the space, so... I have not seen them at the very minimum. I apologize if they've flown under the radar for me.
Like they have a cool logo. That's step one of making an organization, you ask me. Get that trade out towards brackets. 2 kills now in a row here for Aether, as there's no trade top of B. Bro hangs on and has survived on an island so well separately, but now he's cut to bits. It's Nitro all alone. He's going to be here towards A, potentially with this knife out behind Tender, but squares up here and has a nice shot. Best IGL in North American history. Has got a nice double out here before he fades away.
Yeah, I mean, that almost might have been enough to suggest that he go in for it if there was a little bit more time to play with, considering the kit, but he's just going to hold on to the op. It's clip Zara with 2 nasty entries. NRG, a little bit of a question mark for me is they play aggressive on 2 sides of the map at the same time. Like, normally, I would tend to say you only want to create one like move like that at the same time. They are flashing themselves to retake Banana, and at the same time they're flashing to get George into an aggressive position over at A. It's a 1-for-1 on Arias. Exotic gets caught re-aggressing forward on porch side, and well, they keep getting that big green into his hands. This is saves that have paid heavy dividends for NRG. As they get yet another full buy, 3 in a row.
Micro finds Exotic up
Yeah.
there in the halls. Maybe not where you were expecting. He better be able to get that op back.
He
Is,
did.
thankfully. Not where you were expecting. I was going to say that opening op battle to take place. But wherever, whenever.
I'm not sure why Exotic is so consistently taking apartments fights. I feel like that's the maybe 3rd or 4th round in a row that he's done that. Not all of them have been losses at the hands of Micro, but it's very clearly something that NRG, I'm going to say, hopefully are conditioning. Assuming some intention behind that, but once again, Bro left alone on B, and he's going to be under fire at the look of things. Still plenty of time for Aether to pivot. They have all the cards right now, but there's 30 seconds.
RAS needs to pull one. Unfortunately, it's Nitro that escapes off the top of the deck right there. And Carson holds this into the pit. It's Nitro that is acting as such in a good, aggressive tail right here. Back and forth. He now waltzes into the brackets as this thing finishes 10-3. Quite a start here. And they go ahead and reach for their 7th just like that. NRG got a beating heart out here in lane.
No, it's not the role that Micro wanted to find himself in, but that's one where I think it really shows maybe some lack of experience in the calling department. They had everything. Like, if you wanted to set up the perfect T-side round for Inferno, Aether had it. Opening pick, they had banana control, they had bracket control, and they had all of that in 30 seconds with utility too. And they just basically timed themselves out. NRG start making moves because there's just no time. They got to figure out where the play is happening. It's kind of everywhere.
Lackadaisical there for Micro. Attempted quick scope. Not lying. And see if the rest of this B play is lazy. On its current emphasis, they're going right through the Molotov. You need some backup here, and they sweep up well. All into the pan. Go with the aggressing Bravo players, and here's an issue here. The bomb's all the way in D spawn. Aether need to clean it up in a couple of areas.
That one hurts a little bit just because Micro misses I'm not going to call it an easy shot, but one that he had the advantage in. Looks like they want to still stick their nose in. It's not Bro this time, it's Carson. Bro took the brunt of that damage, 4 HP. And as per usual, the rotation coming from George. No smoke. So this crossfire between George and Carson is going to be pretty deadly.
It's Misha has to break it apart alone. He even gets flashed on it. It's a rough look. Misha gone with the win, but Tender's bullets carry a certain type of flow. This would be one hell of a start to a 1v5, and it's Tender that's going to sit up top, waiting for these fights to come to him.
Throws low. Kits for plenty. Exotic and Nitro both have theirs. They're all coming separately. They just need to coordinate the timings.
I mean, he's just trying to prepare for one hell of a highlight. He gets the swing out for the 4 HP Dane and can't land one bullet. Bro hops on the defuse, locks up an 8th here for NRG. And a good attempt out there by Tender. Not sure how he, connected those initial kills, but the mystery in it all. There's a certain magic to it as well. How Aether have found their way into playoffs. No in-game leader, working with a second sub in that last series. Tip your hat to Flo, who did take a step back, and I believe I listed that was the reason for the arcade pickup. I might have said earlier that it was Talon, excuse me if I did, but he got picked up after Flo did step back. Talon and Misha stepped back about a month ago.
Yeah.
Lots of change. Coming out of the player break, that's natural though. They're running this up. Micro has found Carson. They are not letting them get too crazy out here on B. Vincent, I'm going to say it again because I said it before. The bomb and T-spawn right here in the Thunderpick playoffs, that is not something that is going to benefit you.
No, that shouldn't be a big deal. Hold on a second. Another missed shot from Exotic. Never mind. No biggie. George had tracked 2 down. But on 30 health, this one's pretty much settled. Misha? Trying to bite off a little more than he can chew, I think. The smoke. Not going to be disrespected immediately. He thinks it over. Still should be unlosable for Aether, but with the final round of the half, George is going to give it the old college try, see what he can facilitate.
For the last round of the first half, George approaches, sits calmly in a smoke, but there's about a third of this left, and now spotted. Miss AWP shot here. That goes further, but Tender takes a second peek, and he's not letting that one go. They steal the last round of the first half. And an 8-4 half, to be honest with you, it could be worse. It could be worse, especially for how potent NRG have been in this first half.
I would
There's
describe
some room in the maneuver.
Exactly how you just did with the intonation and all. I guess it could be worse. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Considering for me that Aether didn't really have much going for them other than their B, like, I don't even know what to describe it. Just the B site was punished pretty consistently, and it was Clipzera, a couple of times. It's that double entry that we saw from Micro on a Mac 10 this round. We had some moments from Tender there. They consistently found some success in that area. That's the only big win I would call out for Aether on their T side. But to be honest with you, Exotic given a ton of opportunities and kind of missing the mark pretty big outside of those first couple of rounds where he had some high impact. From then on,
yeah,
it was pretty much nothing. Even though he was like aggressive, tons of ops. I mean, Nitro was getting that thing into his hands every round, saving it.
Yeah, definitely a disappointing first half out here by Exotic. Gotta wonder if he's going to be able to, bring it on the rifle here. I'm not too large of a fan myself of this, Inferno T-side op. Not sure it's too popular anymore anyway. But to be honest with you, regardless of what I did just see in the first half, this isn't going to, change my opinion about a player. This is one of my initial times watching him. But I got to tell you that a lot of my belief, does come from, coming through his games, coming through, the expectations of what people, had for this guy before, over on Splice, over on CLG Academy. I mean, those were big jobs back in the day. And, how young he was for getting them, I bet was exciting. But watching the interview that Nitro gave, I know I referenced George's earlier to you guys in the green room. I mean, of course, I believe the quote is, I'll just say this for, the people that maybe didn't watch it. It was something along the lines of, when Exotic is at his peak, he has some of the best, if not the best mechanics in North America, which is great. But George is the advocate in, seeing Nitro answer questions, expectations. What are we supposed to expect from George? I mean, to be honest with you, he seemed really excited about playing with this type of player. So to be honest with you, I think that really, you're obviously supposed to be, putting positive signs in your teammates' direction and what have you, but it seemed very genuine. And I think there's a lot of belief in this guy stepping back because I believe he was supposed to be such a talent before. And it was, exactly a travesty that we did lose him for some time. But Vincent, who don't love a comeback story?
That's true. And, especially when you're talking about a guy that's still very young comparative to some others in the scene. That's also something to talk about. But a little bit of an extended break on that one.
But I hear he has a big boy job. That also came in conversation with Nitro's interview, because that's what he was up to. I mean, this is a guy that was he was staying in the gym. He was working on his fitness. He was grinding the game. He was grinding them pugs. That's what I heard. And, got back in, played one tournament from getting info, won the tournament, won the MVP.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think that there's still a lot of question marks about that whole you know, a very significant job situation. When you're talking about NRG as a team who are like their stated goal is clear. They
Yeah,
want to
they're
be a tier
planning
1
to spend
team.
a lot of time overseas.
Yeah,
So
and
call
and,
ya boss.
and they're looking to
I need this weekend off.
more than that.
Or the major.
So I don't know.
Going to
I think that
Overpass,
there's still
guys.
I think that there's still like some questions around that, but I can only hope that that's going to work out. And to be fair, that's a down the line type of questions. You gotta kind of show up here locally first and foremost. And
They have the Blast Bounty to look forward to, correct? But I mean, you're gonna have to play this in Europe, but the opening stage is online.
yeah,
A little bit disappointing.
very disappointing. I mean, you already saw a ton of teams kind of saying, "Yeah, we're just not really interested in that." Wonder why. After an extended pause there in the halftime, we're gonna get things back underway. Still a pretty healthy odds deficit for Aether, despite, like you said, could have been worse at halftime.
They're stacked against them right now. Literally the odds. As to be honest with you, it probably is that grim. NRG are a team that attends majors. I repeated this cliche yesterday with M80 beating on the Coop, who did show some life in that second map, but I think I bring up the Coop for a specific reason in sort of a commonality that I think they share with Aether that, at the which they both finished the, last couple of tier 2 tournaments like Challenger League and what have you in the North American space, man. At the point at which we're watching them right now, I can say that this is a much improved unit.
Bro's getting a lot of space at B. Depending on how successful he is, he might pull the rotators off of A. Yeah, no success. Sorry. It was meant to be an A-pop the whole time. Bro was just seeing what he could grab.
They're equipped for it. Dooley's in the right place, but George, his bullets are finding the right time. Carson, and now George back to back. A tale as old as time on the Choco check. Now they're here wearing the orange of NRG.
The real throwback. Background Clips era gonna have to do some heavy lifting to get back in. The good news is they have the kit.
NRG.
Nitro. The fact that they get confirmed information, that's helpful, but these pit positions are deadly.
They can just solace all of the hope out of the beginning of this. All the way is headed that direction. Clipsera is waiting to find a couple of Kevlar holding players into a distance. This one crossed off the board. It's a really good turnout here in this Inferno by NRG. I think I want to see them kind of press onto the gas and absolutely accelerate through the rest of this so we can see the quality from NRG that you would like to against a tier 2.5 North American team that they should be putting in stances like that. I remember watching, the Hext interview that he gave over at Dust 2, and I think he was, giving it sort of like right after the group stage was over at Fragadelphia, where he was like, in 3 or 4 best of 3s, I think we dropped 9 rounds. I was like, is that right? And I went and checked. There's only best of 3s played at Fragadelphia now. Indeed, that was the case. And that is indeed what the scoreline should be for teams like that, right? And I went and checked for NRG, and they did clean up pretty similarly, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to, talk about, what the real expectation is for a team like Aether in this event. Like, rankings only mean so much, but this is a top 50 team in NRG playing against a team that's not even in the top 150. Right, like I just think that stark contrast. Like that. It's not meant to be. It's not meant to be like that. It's just meant to be a statement of like what NRG should be looking like and what they should be doing, given that clear difference.
They were the team that was the farthest favored in their group, I do believe, or second to last. Obviously, you had to make up on some common ground there. Aether pushed their way to the playoffs. Obviously, with a very clean win versus Lycus, but a dogfight versus the Comets.
I mean, I really would have put Aether in 4th place in their group. That's, so I actually think being here in general is like impressive to begin with. So anything further, I'd be loving to see that.
Like no in-game leader. It's like, what other excuse can we possibly, give to this team? And they, keep doing better, crashing expectations, because, you know, it's simply, we saw yesterday, teams that put in the work, put in it for the protocols, whatever it is. Sometimes you lose to a team that shoots harder than you. And that is the lesson that Marsborn learned last night. To be honest with you, it's not the first time they've learned that. But I still think they're headed in a promising direction. It's just role questions, all the nitty-gritty, the micro stuff.
Those dirty details that get you, don't they?
Yes, they do.
10-4. Look at the guns out, but it's not exactly perfect. Misha's lacking utility. Arias and Clipsera have sacrificed firepower to get theirs.
Really slow burn out here for Arias and Misha, and unfortunately, he will falter once more. There's Exotic seeing through on a rifle. CP sight broadened, and they are going to carry their luggage right in. It'll be a swipe at the front desk. All the way comfortable or NRG. Bomb placed now. I say that because I don't think there's going to be a retake here. They can just chill out.
Yeah, at least the 3 rifles that Aether actually had, right? I mentioned Arias and Clipsera both had to go SMG mode to get utility for their banana hold. All 3 rifles get to save. They're going to have loss bonus as well, so capable of dropping and getting a better purchase in the next round. The real problem for Aether isn't that fact. That's okay. It's that I'm doing the math, and 10 plus 1, that does equal 11. We're getting deep into this game where Aether are starting to run out of chances very quickly.
Ender does stash one more. Add to the HLTV stats. It's one more. That's just a joke now. $50 more in everybody's pocket. Look at me. Who's this guy? It's made it a lot easier. It has shown a lot of tension here. To be honest with you, the last 3 days, has it been 3 days? Today's day 3 of this update. Time flies.
Is it really?
Been casting since then. Yes, it is. I have really actually liked these Inferno changes. It's not like, I think, exactly, recreating the rule book or anything, but that's not what anybody wanted exactly on this Inferno. I really like the B changes. I think they're really good. I think I prefer this railing back so that you're more committed to halls popping.
I think you're correct on all counts. Still the worst map in the pool, though. Not even close.
In a time in which the pool has got some good maps, so...
True. That halls pop you were talking about, how about now?
Yeah, they're going to have to dive right out or try and stand on it. Look at that type of angle that Exotic gets it to grab. And Nitro, he just feels that one. Micro on the other side of the wall is gone. So it'll be 12 to be just netted here, as it's Arias and Clipsera that should get away with the guns, but something is telling me that that is not in the thought process as Bro sees around the corner. Make sure Arias is dusted with nothing to say about it. I mean, it's a little bit lackadaisical here from Aether, and I don't know if you're going to get this, last weird Hail Mary burn attempt into a map that, LAG had a couple of times, and that first map, and then reaching into that Inferno was, really one of the only reasons why I think we are giving them more of the benefit of the doubt to have a chance there, and I think that's what you're going to have to see a little bit here from Aether, but so far no signs.
No, and, I mean, listen, Aether's Inferno's not even really in the same conversation as Lags. So there's also that. And I'm just talking about the past, the history and whatnot, not even talking about the question marks around the subs and everything. Plenty of time to put this one on ice. Number 1. So Exotic gonna fall to Micro's off to begin with. That is something to start off with.
Person finds Tender. Arias walking this up. They need to find a little bit more space that they have the information now in Banana. Quick scope that Micro doesn't grab. Considers it again because he does have the utility here. It's indecisive and it is not going to be spicy enough until you get this bomb here. But look at the undercut. Look at what is coming towards them. It's George not expecting it. Nitro, he's going to have to bend to the wheel right now. And RES is just under the feed, but not far enough on the ramp. Nitro taps and has 2 heads.
They're going to be very unexpected. This push coming back. Carson's kind of watching for it, but Micro hits the shot. The second in the round. Nitro up to the clutch. He needs 4 total. And this repositions perfect for Micro. 3 kills. He's the triple threat from 3 different locations. And Aether, they bounce back. 1 step forward.
Really good round there for Micro. I know there was conversation as to, you know, who was really going to, I think, you know, lift up this group. And I think I responded to that kind of poorly from Paladin. And I said Micro and Tender, you know, those guys have brought the structure the entire time. I think that's more of, you know, what I said. But I feel like that's not what he was asking. I feel like, you know, you're still getting that performance right now, but you're missing something from the rest of the group that, you know, I did point out was a little bit inexperienced, and, you know, make up for that with opportunities like this. You get the opportunity to play NRG in a Thunderpick playoff. Well, that's one you can put in the calendar and really hold on to. Here, the opportunity they don't want to let go. It's this first map that is going to be quickly shut if they can't make do with 2 players here on the A bomb site.
NRG not ready to hit the go button yet. You're letting Carson cook for the moment, but Micro, the hero of the previous round, he's still here on A. And searching is Tender. Not just taking that at face value. Carson's hearing that. Tender on the fall back. And, oh, they're starting to move, juggle things around. The op now going to be posted over onto the B site. And in transition, NRG still yet unmoved.
There's a gunfight that Bro wins. And at this point, it's all going to be distraction because they know it really is coming here. Nitro and his squad, they literally can clear out the B site. They can hit you up on A. It is a full takeover of this Inferno. Aether's map pick was fool's gold right there as Nitro's squad has a stamp right on it.
Down, and Paladin is on the sideline to do just that.
Thanks, Vincent. I mean, NRG not really having to break much of a sweat in that map of Inferno altogether. It felt as though Nitro really had a foothold as to how we wanted to approach the CT side. Despite this, it didn't feel as though we were getting the best out of certain players. I think some of the gambles were a little odd to me, and it kind of showed some real issues with the NRG CT side, where you would have these gambles on the four players onto that A bomb site, with 1 player being left on the B bomb site, that being Bro, not necessarily working out in that scenario. But overall, that was my biggest issue, I would say. Now, all that being said, when I look at the work that George was able to put in as a defensive player, that was huge for me. It really did actually overcome a lot of the shortcomings of what that NRG CT side looked like, where he was able to maneuver around the bomb sites pretty effectively, was able to shut down some A plays pretty well as well. And I think that really was what made them have enough in the tank to get 8 rounds altogether. Continuing on, unfortunately, I didn't necessarily see the best out of Aether in any regard. I think I can admire the pace at which they kept their T side. Simplifying some of their defaults was, I think, catching NRG off guard with their simplicity. I think in a lot of situations, they outthought themselves in what was coming and what eventually ended up happening. And while Aether were able to capitalize on some of those scenarios towards the tail end of the half, they weren't necessarily able to keep that up for the most part, because frankly, it just wasn't sustainable when you look at the pound for pound kill distribution that you look across the board. I mean, it's 5 to 9 deaths or 5 to 10 deaths maximum here for any of these NRG players. So they're staying alive. They're getting a sustainable amount of kills as well across the board. It's everything that you could ask for on the defense, despite Zodic and Bro feeling a little under the weather, I'd say. I don't necessarily feel as though we saw the best out of them throughout that Inferno. But we switch over to the T side. I like what Nitro did. You know, this guy's one of the most experienced IGLs that we have in the game. He's been through every type of CS that has been played within the North American region. I think he very much understands that he's going to call in such a fashion that he's playing against a team that should be pushed over. And the way that he commands the T side is very simple. It's if you find an entry, we will have the supporting utility to snowball that into a round win, and they capitalized upon that multiple times. I mean, that is how you just shut out Aether from really ever getting the ball rolling. The gun rounds were sublime. It showcases that Nitro still is an elite caller within North America and should be feared in that regard from an from a fragging perspective as well. Ending with 92 DAR, it really showcases that. Look, I know Overpass might have been a long shot, but with how comfortable NRG did look on Inferno, where they were playing their B game and looked that comfortable in that best of one altogether, I don't necessarily fancy their chances moving forward. I think Mirage is where you get a little bit more comfortable with Exotic on the AWP. I think this is where Bro can be a little bit more of that Swiss Army knife on the map, and I think this is where Carson has always done his best work. If there were any silver lining about him as a player, you would go towards Mirage every single time, and he's a guy that can crack heads. He can take some significant space for you and become a real threat. So I'm looking forward to seeing if I either have any more fight in them, but to me, this one feels like an open and shut case. NRG should have this one in the bag 2-0.
Well, here we are, rolling off into the second map. It's a Mirage in the home turf, the pick of NRG. They're looking to sort this out here in style. But this is probably where the largest upset potential is for anybody on any map. It's this Mirage, and where Aether's puggy style will be the most potent.
Yeah, no doubt. I also think that, NRG Paladin leaned into a lot of the positives there. We'll get into that. Clipzera gonna be the first to take the task here to try and hold him off, and it's Arias with support that does some heavy lifting. Still alive. How is it possible? He's 3 HP, cut down at the final moment. Exotic is gonna have to find a 1v3.
Got the cover to do so. He's here at the bench and finds one head. Don't you dare give Exotic the chance to sit here and dance. These are some slick shots coming out of the other side of this A1S. All you hear is shells falling out of the silenced pistol. 50 seconds he has to wait right now as Misha just is terrified on the other side as Exotic drags his blade, but it's Misha that has one for you as well. He's got some heart for it. His 3K is the one that pays off.
Oh man, so close, but yet so far. Those two shots were spicy. They were devastating, but yet still Aether do convert. They do get themselves into a pistol round victory. Arias with a huge amount to do with that, staying alive for so long, and Misha cleaning up all 3 of the remaining members after Arias goes down. Running back,
Damn
NRG.
fine try.
How about a deagle for Exotic? Ooh,
Yeah, baby.
Goodbye.
Already hitting some really great stuff today. I mean, the stuff that he did hit over on Inferno, few and far between, was stylish as it kind of had to be. I mean, he was taking a lot of close range fights. Might require you to be a little bit too flashy, but I mean, that pistol round was insane. I mean, gotta see what this dude's made of, see if it's all smoke and mirrors or if it's to be taken seriously. Statements like, best mechanics in North America at his peak, from praises from teammates, right? I mean, it's rounds like that will come to prove statements that are made in ridiculous nature, but are they?
Yeah, we'll see. On the long term for that one. Don't tango. There we go.
Okay.
Person's got hands on the UMP that Clipzera had dropped, but he can't do anything with it. Aether take the 2-0 lead. But now NRG have AKs. They've got it all. I think that very much correct when you talk about just a lot of comfort for Carson on this map, for George as well. Like back in the day, that duo, Carson and George on Nouns, this was like their map. No one could touch them on this map.
Don't you remember September, Vincent? When they won Fragadelphia? They had a really good time out there. Seeing some of NA's competitions. I remember seeing that down. Obviously, the remainder of that, Junior and the boys, now rocking over on Blue Jays. That obviously seeming to the next up team, but they're not here. It's Aether we gotta worry about. Arias just put up on his stint off the off angle, and he is just gonna feel back to his feet in pain. Misha just on time with the rotation. Takes a good, confident fight first. Leaves it into a 2v2 because Tender just found Bro.
Oh, but seemingly called off immediately. Micro taking a long time to get there. Both have a big patch of utility that they can implement. I just don't think they're going to be there in time. And indeed, that is the case. Micro hoping for an exit.
Molotov won't be stopping anybody, I'm afraid. Micro to survive with his life. NRG continues to turn key. They get that down. First strike all the way carried out on this Mirage, and Exotic that survives into the next. Micro picks up this AWP into the third, carries it over to a fourth. Or am I incorrect? Yes, he was running away with an A1S. I'm silly.
Yeah, I dropped that A1S over, invested into it, but, you know, still. Last round NRG. A little bit of late mid-control ideas, but speed with which they got themselves up catwalk was be applauded. This time, you're going to see something similar, bomb included, with the grouping up at top mid as Bro joins the party.
Trying to pick on ladder and find a response. HE doesn't loosen that let. Arias doesn't get ticked by the Molotov either. Skating this well. Carson on this aggression. He finds nothing. It is a trio out here for Misha that he lines up and cuts to pieces. George right here waiting in the wings, tries to hop out. It's a 4K out of Misha. He sees back into Thunderpick for the very first time in competition since the end of March, and he is putting himself back on the map. 11-1 for Misha right now. That's one to remember.
I mean, I told you at the beginning of this series that, you know, I know that that's not really like the conversation starter because Misha is standing in and stepping away from competition, but I mean, he does have the firepower. He is a big reason why core of Aether made it through advance and made it to ECL previous season. Even though they didn't have the greatest of season 49s, it doesn't matter. You know, that skill's still there. NRG, 2 smokes, right side smokes is what it's going to be. The flash not yet coming, but bomb plant is the goal. Exotic is going to get tender, and so trouble of brewing.
Misha continues to go ahead and just be a terror. This is what I was worried about. Somebody taking that leg up, that next step here on Aether, leaving one hell of an indent. We got 3 players out here on this A bomb site, and Micro having a hell of a time finding his way into the ticket booth. NRG, they have already hit purchase on this, already going for the swing. Nitro, he's going to be capped for it, and now it's all down to clip Zera to clutch, who smokes out one of these angles, and now just is more paranoid about Carson, so it seems. No kit either, so he's going to have the 10-second defuse, which is just about to become impossible. Bro swings out and get that second round up on the board for NRG himself. Can't quite get his hands on the op, too far away.
That's devastating. There's basically nothing that round for NRG. Like I said, right side smokes for stairs and for jungle. 1 flash to send him through, and Exotic's far ahead of it. He gets the kill under balcony, and Misha's playing inside of a smoke is what I think it was. I didn't see it from his perspective, but I think he was in a smoke like around Ninja or something like that, maybe Firebox, and he gets 2 kills, but NRG had scaled so far that they're able to trade him pretty efficiently and get his gun out too. Carson collects a gun and puts the final touches on that round with his AK. NRG steal one away, and Aether, they're so much worse off for it. 1 M4 is what they can afford into the next round because of that. Carson seeing nothing in mid. NRG are like, okay, all good. We'll just exec A. No information whatsoever until they start to fight mid now.
Nobody home. They'll have to come back later. NRG, no such plans. Misha will have to attend. Everybody getting brought back. There's a reason to leave this alone. Running into the numbers. Hold on a second. Just piped up. A huge amount of confidence in this CT swing. Don't ignore. Exotic is going to be all alone now and needs another clutch here in this Mirage. He's left with 2 health here, so going to have to be pitch perfect. So it's Micro working alone. And with coverage on this bomb, all he has to just do is stay in stick. When does Exotic buy what Micro has to sell? He just keeps it on the shelf. All the way, dusted on, never buys it all the way out. It's Micro that will continue to stock up. 1 more to go. It's a 4th in the 2-round spree ended by NRG.
I mean, there's just no utility thrown to take CT whatsoever. I don't know what's going on with the second phase of that attack for NRG, especially when Carson's like confirming that there's minimum 3 players in mid. He gets 1 and then he's traded eventually, but you got a ton of information, and yet for whatever reason, NRG are uncommitted to fighting CT together after losing the first man. I don't know. That was a little bit weird for me. We'll see if NRG are punished long term.
Tender right in front of that smoke. He may just be overlooked. Yeah, right. Not when Bro's right here to take the fight. A double entry out of the Great Dane again. NRG heat back into the A site. Not much has changed on their plans. And you can really not even repeat that statement without acknowledging failure CT before. They take it a little bit slower, Vinny. It's Aether that will be humbled on this set. Micro's too far to get involved, and hopefully Libzera will find some peace. Oh no, not this from Micro, but that is a very, very great find right now.
It seems like NRG wanted to make up for what happened last round. They recognize their mistakes and correct the record, show them how to actually play for that A attack. Take space into CT. Leveled out, bro, at the tip of that A exec. Barely even call it that. It's just speed. As NRG used the surprise factor to push the momentum. But like I said, Aether, numerically are sticking in this, but if you look at the fragging, Misha is such a huge part of the win condition in every single one of Aether's rounds right now. Remember, Arya's picked up 3 on the pistol. Micro's had like 3 exits. So, who's winning these rounds for Aether? It's Misha.
Thankfully, he's near to where this A play is going to go down as the connector manager. Comes all the way through. He has no vision. Tender here with a lowly 5-7 in the sight. Jumping right to his level is George. Good trade for that. And on that cover, Misha sneaks through and has a good kill. How aggressive do Aether want to get right now as they see NRG into the A site? Real estate, it's going to have to be handed over. And now they're considering the fight's the next level. Micro ready for it on this adjustment. They have a good hand, and it's Misha finally turned out here, but he's all the way up to 15. We can net those records in a moment because it's Nitro up for a clutch, but it is Cap that is exactly done on that. He's gone. He's wiped out of the server, and this is, yeah, definitely in a point that can get concerning on this Mirage. Don't give Aether too much room.
What the hell happened to the ramp part of that A take? It was like only Bro, coming out second there, had Carson for support. And then NRG were out of utility, so they once again couldn't take CT, couldn't go anywhere. Misha offering another multi. He's been picking up at least a multi every single time. Aether went around 5 rounds, 15 kills. For the man of the hour right now with that, NRG are boasting just pistols. It's not a full investment, it's just armor on exotic. Basically, no one else has that in their toolkit. But granted, Mark, NRG won a round with this exact utility invested just 2 rounds ago. 2 flashes, 2 smokes.
The Tender toted up perfectly. And on the totem will be so close to Misha. And you got a visitor here in CT, so they're fully equipped. Should be a good defense out here for Aether. as this type of smoke pop is going to be really good for the sandwich players and how that's lined up in general. He's waiting and biding his time. They're trying to see this into CT and get more out of Clips era. When is Tender going to strike right now? He's waited way too long for my liking. He's let a bomb plant go and way too much space over. Well, it's just because of how the smoke faded. And now they're not going to be expecting him. Tender takes out Nitro, but he better do a whole lot more. Gets a double out here, and that's going to be good enough. There's going to be that second press out of CT here any second, and both heads are turned. They're not going to be expecting this, and there you are separated. The tower has fallen. It is a 6 tier for Aether. They're balling on this defense.
They really are, but I think it's more to do with NRG. Like, this is such a flat T side right now. We haven't seen a single real default. You know, I guess you could call one of these rounds a default. Like, NRG are just like playing A-Exec Simulator. It feels like we're watching a prac right now. And maybe that's how NRG are taking it, but it's 6-3, you know? I think now's about the time to take things seriously, and maybe this timeout is what that's going to be. But we've just watched 5 straight A-Execs, Mark, and 2 of them have been on pistols, but I'm just saying, I think now's the time to start to dig deeper.
Use a little bit more emphasis from their aggressive rifler. It just doesn't, you know, as the conversation has gone for the roles on this new NRG team and the controversy around it, right? I mean, Carson, you know, obviously kind of known as the guy that will kind of do it all for getting info and, you know, where he was placed with nouns. But, I mean, you need this guy to be a hard entry, and you're obviously lacking that. I mean, it's not a great performance here, but, like, it doesn't seem like a role at which he's comfortable in.
Well, and
I've seen more entering from Nitro, I feel like, tonight.
I mean, that's fair. I don't even know. Yeah, that's sort of where Hex was, but, like, I don't even know necessarily if, like, that's what Carson wants to be doing.
Right.
And that's
Hex
kind of
was in the anchor spots.
He was, but on the T side, he could often be in front too. I just don't know.
Whoops.
A little oopsie on that one. I was gonna say the conditioning towards A at the very minimum is gonna maybe pay off here.
MEC Utility weirdly holds a couple of players. What the hell is happening? They're getting held in place. And Arias is just blown to bits. George dealt with it there on A. 1 spade at a time. And now that will feel like one that they can at least put a leg on. It's a big win here for NRG and a timeout for Aether and for Jeebs to get on the mic.
Yeah, I mean, that one almost looked too easy. Like, George just takes A on his own. He gets 3 kills. He's the only guy there. No trade ever. And like I said, just one missed bit of utility. It pulls over a ton of rotations. It's only the op of Micro that's actually on the B bomb site. And it gets nothing. Molotov, and then the final touches as he tries to jump away from the flames. As you say, Aether's turn to take attack, and it's actually a tech right after that. We're going to be waiting for a moment. But yeah, it's also the same point I made before. This scoreline looks great, and I don't want to take anything away from Aether. But NRG have been very basic about this T side, and every single Aether round has involved a multi-kill from Misha.
Yeah, so it's a round like that they try and, you know, immediately pitch back at Aether to try and make them uncomfortable, and it does work out for them. You know, faltered to it, and they have just been farmed like probably how Misha has been playing the game these last couple of months in a pug. Clearly put in some work. He stayed hot. A guy that's been competing in North America for a long time as well, so has that experience, you know, similarly to a player like Andrew, a lot of the subs that we have had in these stints. I mean, you always want them to be guys, you know. I don't want to, I miss, you know, called Fang as a sub yesterday. He's a technical sub. We obviously explained that situation away with the VRS, obviously having to do with, you know, where that does go out, but it's all a bit of a gimme. No Juna in here this tournament. That's why you see Misha popping up. So, is Misha really the sub either?
Yes and no.
Last dance.
Yeah, it's more about that. Giving it what he can, allowing this team to keep their VRS core. A lot of that going around. So, like you were just talking about with Fang.
We were just talking about Wildcard a whole lot before this. The reason why, Stan came back when obviously the step back by Susp did happen the other day. Obviously likely to, fulfill contract obligations, but also to help out his boys, keep this core together if nothing. We spoke about earlier how he does care about developing these players, JBA and peeping further, and, generally about the, well-being of his squad. So obviously it's that wild card 5-player base and coach that are going to try and stay tight-knit.
Surely they expect George here. Yeah. They were looking for it,
no.
but you can expect it. You can't always do anything about it. George taps for a third for the second round straight. George takes A on his own with 3 kills. Maybe that's the strategy.
He looks like they're tapping away. He looks a little bit like Elige. That precise, stuff like that. I know you're giggling right now, but the comparison I make is because Elige obviously made that his shout out at, I believe it was number 19 on the top 20 list last year, and George was his special shout.
George been in the combo for sort of next up for quite a while at this point.
Definitely.
Looking to make that step. Exotic, the only one to fall against the Pistols. Aether. 6 rounds taken relatively early on, but at that 3-6 mark, we saw the timeout, and Daps probably saying something along the lines of, guys, we can't scrim out A every round, please.
Yeah. They were just sending it, seeing it to a lot of standing ground, but here we are. End of the half. NRG have started to make up for a bit of lost time here. I think, that time already, gone by. I don't think we're really worth in getting past the point at which we're not still acknowledging that this Mirage still could get worse, right? I mean, I don't want to pitch that direction and ruin anybody's energy, but I mean, Aether have given you the reason to believe because of this guy right here. Misha sits at the top of connector. Oh, and unfortunately, he'll just be decked by this flashbang. It almost connects 1 kill. It won't actually protrude, but it will be Micro that does exactly that from CT. Looks up to try and just visit a second here as Tender about to get busy as well. He pops up at the top of Apex, but at the same time, as Misha takes his peek, rather Micro, he finds nothing on this, but a brief man advantage as Bro is toting the bomb and getting ready for a cat peek. What else does he search for here? A little bit of cover.
It's a big smoke to find. I was really worried about how they could facilitate a bomb plant. Now they can. But the CT players have repositioned. Both go jungle. Tag team with Clipzera. Look at the utility. Micro's got a smoke for the bomb, and Clipzera's got another one too, should it be necessary. Bro, he gets towards CT. They've got Carson at ramp. This is all about the duels.
Bro, he needs to line them up right here. All the way on for an ace, potentially, because there's nobody else getting involved in the site. Bro, he's found his 4th, but he does not have it for the 5th. He picked up a kid on the way, and Micro, he hops back on the bomb in just barely enough time to make it a 7-5, and an advantage, not for NRG, but for Aether on NRG's map pick.
That hurts for Bro. He needed to ace there. He did everything he could. Finding that smoke gave them the bomb plant. Carson needed just 1, realistically, but can't find anything. Tough task for Carson. We've been talking about some of his struggles over the course of this series, maybe. Despite what I would consider a very flat half from NRG, I almost feel like I'm not allowed to criticize it because NRG were so obviously not being that serious. I don't know how to feel about it. Tried to lock it in towards the back end of that half, but Micro putting together a whole lot of good work with the op. For a while there, it was basically just Misha showing up. Micro joins the party. Tinder's had some multis. You're looking at an Aether who have a lead. I would not have guessed that they would have had a lead at any point at halftime.
The recipe that NRG were cooking with, that was one that was simple, but Aether saw through the sauce, right? And kind of questioned, are they cooking out of our book right now? We got to keep it sweet. We got to keep it simple. And that succeeded in the first half for the most part for Aether there, where they were just reading across the lines. They head onto a T side now, where they're playing with it all to lose. I mean, at this point, on this pistol, rather, I'll rephrase that. I mean, with it all in their pockets. I mean, they got a good look about this. They got a lead. They are just taunting NRG on this Mirage. Misha jumping to his feet, but it's Bro right alongside, and he has to stand with Nitro. George arrives, and they are just slaying them out. It's a slaughter and a triple from George at the back of Empty Pillar.
Man, George has really been the big guy on the block for NRG this map. Bro's had some incredible moments, but George in those last like 3 rounds of the first half, and that in the pistol, 3 kills more, excuse me, for George. He seems to take them in forms of 3s. Triple here, triple there. Why is it 12 right now? We'll look into Glocks for Aether there. Basically gonna give this one up. And they'll get AKs as fast as possible. This is respectable, I think. I really like the decision that Aether go for. They just don't want to mess around. There's no time for Aether to screw up, and they know it. So they get AKs as fast as they can.
Too often, I think you'll see too much fooling around here. Got to produce as many gun rounds as you can. It's like you pointed out, these type of opportunities, they don't want to wait around and mess about for that. They're going to straight up take these fights in middle confidently, and they're waiting on Exotic at the right side of window. Thankfully, they have a smoke waiting about, and even can further this into ladder. Now, that's one way to further this setup and not have it immediately break apart because of the aggressive middle stint.
Aria's got to be careful, almost exposed there as Carson grabs another one. Smoke seems to be a no issue for him as Bro drops the bomb. There's more to be had, but Tinder and Misha. Sorry, just Misha. And it's all quick to end. NRG posts up a confidence building round where mid is closed. There's no business to be had in that area of the map.
Potentially getting creative here with a batch of pistols. Not the batch of pistols that I kind of imagined myself, but it's also, I think, a lot less than what I imagined in terms of what they would buy. I figured they would go kind of heavier into a full Kevlar set. They have a couple players that are kind of just sitting out here a bit weaker, but are trying to just pack away their money for the same reason in which they, didn't force in the previous time. So they want to get as much as they can when their gun rounds do go ahead and have the effect, but this is not one that they can go ahead and just let go for free. It's Exotic that finds Arias on the other side of that smoke.
Unlucky. Arias kind of having that kind of game, unfortunately. Things just not going right, not going well. Zera has tagged on his 3rd kill with the scout now this round. Nobody pushed into upper. This is clear. With that, Aether sit and wait, but NRG, they have such an advantage in the firepower through this round that I don't think there's any real reason that they need to go searching. Nitro has space for days.
We're tapping right on that and pressuring that movement out. Aether here with 32 seconds are still pushing and pulling. And when you're causing that type of distraction, well, it just spells that you are desperate. George and Exotic, they form a tap here at the top of connector, and they screw it on. Micro and be on the other side here. It's George swinging, jumping for the fences, and it's his Deagle to chase him all the way down. What the hell is this from Micro? Don't you dare give this a real chance. It's Bro all the way down to 1 health with the bomb so far. You got to cross no man's land to get it. Not going to be happening. It's a 9th out here for NRG, but that is some serious stuff.
He pulled the simple. That's awesome.
He did.
That is amazing. Here, have my real gun. I'll just take the deagle. Hit the headshot. Still, NRG might have been down at the half, but now they take a lead. 4 straight after halftime. Got a very clear shape to it, Mark. Aether want to go A. It's an A split happening. They gotta get the bomb.
Oh, yeah. Really good start here. Make it even better. Micro, something was flowing through his veins that caused the canvas of an end to round 16, but this one looks even prettier. 2 versus 4 right now. Exotic and Nitro, they stare back. Maybe some heroics out from one of the most newly wedded members of NRG onto this roster. Misha is going to find Nitro, and dude, Misha, all right, my friend, pulls up with the 1 tab, head turned, and he will not leave it on.
Yeah, he's, I mean, like I said, having a pretty absurdly good game right now. Exotic gonna put it into him. The hope is just to hold on to this op, and he, well, might do that. Micro's already searching, but Exotic about to pick up an ace in a losing effort. If Tinder wants to give him another duel, I think probably shouldn't. The problem is that as nice as these kills are, Exotic actually missed the mark with regard to holding connector, let Misha through, and that's what gets Nitro killed.
Yeah, he made up for that mistake, though, I think, pretty well. I think the economical damage of what was just caused by those 4 frags were actually pretty impactful here, though we are brought 1 closer. Aether here, they'll take it any way they can get it, but are going to be wishing they had a bit more safe of a path out.
Yeah, I'm not ready to have a conversation. NRG have basically looked like they own this map on the CT side. That's the only round that things have looked any different, so great work from Micro. Great work from Misha, but they need more.
We're going to be sprinting this up the catwalk right now. Contact made, and they can't quite tap on the head of Carson. Bro at that next level is not going to let you pass. And it's just a tripwire of a setup here on B. Nitro right down below. Still going to make this happen. Potentially even find a triple here as Micro jumping to his death and finds it here on the site. Now you separate by 2. And it's at a point like this where you really need kind of the upsets that keep coming into course. Every time NRG gets a round win, it's really one-sided and not without the worries for Aether here on how to, you know, perform coming forward.
I just haven't seen that Aether have like have anything in form of depth right now on this map. And I think that that's almost certainly likely to being, you know, with a couple of subs. But it's fast. It's aggressive plays. It's, you know, simple attempts. That's all they can proliferate forward. Misha versus the world.
Takes a good fight on a Nitro. But it's Bro on standby. And he finds his European connection out there. Misha, a Russian-Canadian, or I believe he may have been... I don't actually know for sure. I can't say that, but... I was going to say, I believe he's from Russia originally. I may have heard that. Yeah.
CIS
Didn't want to take
minimum.
too bold of a gander, but...
CIS at the minimum, I think we'd say.
Correct.
But yeah, now a full Canadian citizen, from what I understand. Repping the Canadian flag out here, which I appreciate. NRG Unfortunately, putting him down quickly after he picked up those 2 kills.
Exotic with a quick opener. Maybe can revisit this. Carson gone, so is George. Exotic sprinting back. Bro, outside of his wheelhouse on this A site. He's gonna have to make it work. It just doesn't add up. This 1+1 effort. It's gonna have to be 2 to save here as NRG, as Nitro and Exotic still kicking around jungle. This A site. They'll have a swift exit.
Exotic has the money regardless, but not everybody is so lucky, is so fortunate. Ooh, that's actually a little scary. Exotic at a flash makes contact with him. Now they step forward. Hold on. Things are getting very fast, very quick into this. Thankfully, we'll stop the bleeding. At no point putting eyes or defuse onto that bomb. Nitro goes down. Unfortunately, miscalculated how deep that bomb was going to blow up. So then instead of getting a couple of saves, they lose everything. Take out an extra gun from the hands of Aether, sure, but NRG, their money good enough so that they can drop everyone if they need to. They will take a tactical timeout, though.
Dabs has a quick temperature check to this. As NRG want to cool this thing off. No worries into a round 21. This is where they want to pitch up 12. Aether playing spoiler. Generally in this group, that was my statement I said earlier. You know, we were looking for the story of the comments to get sweeter there. It took a different turn. Because Aether, they had their own story to be told right now. Everything that they have brought in this offseason improvement. Even the next man up mentality. We saw Flow back to the function briefly, man. It's been a reunion of the Super Evil gang.
Yeah, that's true. Clipsera thinking that there's an opening here. He's absolutely wrong. True. Doesn't get another one, though, but Bro does. Exotic is on the other side. 12 looking likely in a 2v4. Oh, can't quite connect onto the head of Tinder.
Zone smoke down. Exotic needs to reposition, but the rotation is on. Bro right next door. You have just got this through market as well. Exotic picked out, and now in the paint, it's a 2v2. And how is this turned so sour? A 4v2 turned into a 1v2 for that exact side. Carson spaces out, and he's got a first, and on that knock, he tried to just connect. It was magnetic onto that try, but now it's all separated, and Tender sits on high pitch, and he will just scream into a 10th round, a triple from Tender. It is Aether that continue to delegate in this Mirage.
I mean, NRG, they're playing a dangerous game right now. They're very lackadaisical on some of those swings. They are just not playing together, honest and truthfully. Everyone playing confidently, taking fights as often as they can. And sometimes that makes for a quick end. Other times that lengthens the stay for Aether. And like you highlight, the money is done. Aether likely for an 11th on USPs. The nade stack up mid. Micro is low, but it's snapped towards B. Will mean a guarantee.
Still too close for my type of comfort. And alarm bells ringing. I think the DEFCON lowered one more. We're closer to the bottom of it where we started. There was really no worry at the end of that Inferno. Maybe a couple more, you got the tally up, and nothing to be taken too seriously. Here, Aether are joking.
I mean, Misha's not joking. 24 and 17. Absurdly good.
25. Quite a line in CT. I'm afraid you're Gonna see that in a million years, bro. And in all of those times, I'm not sure you're going to be springing it in a single manner. And Clipsera throws a Mac 10 in the trash as they're seeing off of those old ideas onto a new one. This needs to be the kill shot here. Aether are a team that, you know, lies off the upset. They want NRG to despise them going into a Dust 2. Well, it's the same recipe they would try it to repeat into this 12th. They are going to serve up once again. See how it goes.
NRG got to lock it down. They got all the tools at the moment. Bomb leans towards A for Aether. Haven't really pressed on mid in this round, but it's through Underpass that Clipsera and Misha both follow through. A duo that qualified to ECL together that now brings up the rear of this A exec.
Exotic finds Tender, and this is how you exactly want the origami to fold on that first step. He's sticking up there inside of the palace and has a bit of coverage if he does want to fade away. Clipsera, he's at this chipping bargain for it, and there is going to be no response out of Exotic right now, so it's NRG. They are held out of wit, but look at how Misha, he's breaking in the back. He's got that in 26 kill up to his resume as the bomb is roped up right here. Nitro is going to tiptoe his way into CT. They've got a secured plant for this from Nitro and from Exotic as Exotic repositions to a ramp.
As it's been heard, Arias turns, obviously worried about the reposition.
Oh!
Exotic goes down. Arias slow to start this game, but he might close with a perfect look. Nitro's got a smoke, he's got a molly, he's got a flash, but he doesn't have a kit currently. I see one now that he's about to pick up. He does confirm that audio for Arias, and now the 1v1.
He's got to just hop on the bomb straight up, needs to make the cold call. That's what you pay the big captain to do, and go ahead and tip your hat. He even gets the knife on that. That's personal to Misha. He's calling him out. No type of performance you got. On that, it's personal to Misha. He's calling him out. No type of performance. Nitro's got 12 himself. We got over here on NRG.
From a
Nitro's
semifinal.
got 12 himself.
Hey,
We take the world right here to force overtime. That's how it feels. But it's Nitro. He's going to be off the back of his heels on this and should have been caught by a Mac 10. Don't you dare. And that's how it feels. But it's Nitro. He's going to be off the back of his heels on this and should have been caught by a Mac 10. Don't you dare give this man more magic in the universe. It is Clipsera that says, not in today's times. Getting this bomb down, and it will be George that is going to try and make them as uncomfortable as he can. There is no post plant to be attempted here if he has anything to say about it. But this bomb is down, whether they like it or not. And Arias is going to have to stand with Tender, who has already had a clutch just beating out of the B apartments, because that's where they expect him. They have no flank right now. Carson, he's going to see into Van, and where's this clue? Up from Catwalk. Now they've confirmed. And Tender, he has made it all the way down to a 1v1. George sees up a nade. That's online. It's just too far. Tender sees out on that timing and has it going further than regulation. Aether, we are going further than the 24. Overtime one locked up against NRG. Other heart pounding for this team has been Tender, and it will continue to do so.
I mean, it's such a late flank. It's so slow to get activated. But you know what, Tinder? He makes it work. He makes it happen. And the HP for George just isn't there. He just doesn't have the requirement. Where that nade went, I have no idea. It looked on target. But George can't find it. And NRG pushed to OT on their own map pick. Oh, it certainly shouldn't be map 3, but Aether are working overtime in more ways than one to make that possible and it to become a reality.
Anything is possible in Counter-Strike. And yeah, the asterisks of it being an online play, baby. We're in the wild west of it all. A team that finished in the bottom, the very pits of the relegation of Challenger League, now are facing off against a team that tends majors. But clearly there was a problem with that. They shuffle out 2 players. They bring in some new names. And right here, it's Aether. They also have the same sort of shuffle. They rebranded, and now they have a different type of energy to this. They're playing spoiler here on this Mirage, further out of regulation.
If you just look at the kills, like do some math real quick. That should tell you how unreasonable this is that Aether had pushed this to 12 and have pushed this now into overtime. Gonna go out A. It's gonna be perfect. George is the only one here. Oh, how absurd to take that fight again. Micro can't believe that he's lost out.
George slipping back on that triple, and it's just a simple play out here. They try to contact into A site. You're looking at one of the most self-sufficient players in North America here in some time. George not going to give you any land to go ahead and get this down, but in a 2v4 they just had out from regulation, out from impossible. Stand on this front. Bro will just punt them all the way out. 2 heads put together and now separated. It's a 13th that NRG finds first, but hey, they couldn't find it in 24. They are going to need 4 more of those.
I mean, we live in a land of absurdity. A true land of, I don't even know. Rainbows and magic and whatever else, because somehow George stays alive there. Somehow George gets the kill into Micro, just re-swings into the op. Absurd confidence coming through from the hottest rifler, NRG. We got more to come through. Aether getting themselves mid-control. Micro's there with basically no cost, but Exotic holds the line.
As the bold decision is stay at Van, and unfortunately has a quick miss, but it all doesn't matter because the cavalry arrives. It's Nitro that provides such a support on a triple. That is superb. It is NRG the double up in this OT. They turn 1 into 2.
Yeah, I mean, and this kind of feels like the same thing I've been saying all map, which is that feels like NRG just like needed a wake-up call every few rounds. Overtime, another one of those wake-up calls for them. They're like, oh, you know, we're actually playing for a semifinal. Wouldn't want to drop a map here. Have done it ugly. Once again, the majority, it's the same round. It's the exact same round. Aether won it back.
They like something about this call so much that they did it 2 times in a row. And right now they're getting out on this site and dodging, ducking in between Nitro spray. It is a Micro that will put away 2 on his stint, but it's Bro that they can't possibly subtract in. They can't possibly predict this. You may have just rubbed shoulders with them, and that might be the only clue. Dane has gotten past, and now he should have both. A fumble of the bag, and unfortunately, Exotic is gonna have to pick it up. A nade, a Molotov that's gonna go deeper. And let's see what the new kid arriving back on the block has got something to say. He's gonna have to attempt this. This is the end of the first half of overtime. See if he can do it in the clutch.
Massive fumble from Bro right there, and a massive fumble from the utility. That should have been 2 kills with 1 grenade. That Molly could have been another one. Instead, he's got a 1v3. And they go together, a pack of wolves that fly as a full unit. Aether steal away around right from under the noses of NRG. Nitro did so much work to delay to set Bro up for that. And unfortunately, the Dane doesn't deliver.
No perfect passes here. This hasn't been too pretty. Why would that change? Get a very cold cut right now, and NRG are still in that freezer. They need to heat up into a semifinal, but on shaky ground, at least their opponent was on today. Wildcard dropped an entire map over to LAG on number 2, or possibly refreshing the same script, walking down that same path here. NRG Currently in overtime on map number 2, leading, but just barely.
I would be blown away if we were to head into dust. If that were the reality we live in, we might truly be in an upside down world. Seems so unlikely. A little slowdown from Misha, unfortunately, can't keep up the same level, but finally the team's starting to build in around Micro and Tender. We've been stepping up over the course of regulation. Arias now joins. Now with 4 firing. Aether breakthrough for at least one of the 3 first rounds in OT. They go to the CT. Go to the second half.
All they gotta do is play ball here. And this was the pitch that Misha did so well on this CT side. But here, different turf entirely on B. Micro toted up for it. They have 2 Molotovs that have yet to be used. Arias gonna give this a run-in-the-mill check all the way down so that he has to use the belt he can. But at a certain point, this thing will drop. Here comes a window smoke, and will take more time than we think because it's a split they towed up.
That's certainly the plan. Zera fully cordoned off. Can't be fighting any further forward. Carson, this would be to sell a sort of fake to potentially cut off rotations as well, but Misha, fortunate to be live. Now they get to
Molotov
go,
that will
but
cancel it. They're going. They're diving in this site, Vincent. And they are going to find a awaiting Micro, and they should have this on the back end if Exotic doesn't take care of it. No question. Flipsera jumping for it. He's gone Rambo for this with the Og Mobile. George going to have to do way more than just toad up a chance about it on Catwalk. You are not going to be expecting this. You realize it's a free kill, and Carson may have just heard that on the back end. It's Tender. He has to work with so many timings, but can't even really rely on his instinct. Better trust your gut after all. Smoke on the bomb, and this is heat-seeking towards George, and kaboom! It's all the way on you. A tied game, and he hits you dead in the paint. 14 all. Aether continue to bring it from where? I don't really know, but they continue to go. It is quite an energy that NRG cannot match. This is one without an answer to it. Overtime is where things get freaky.
A 2v4 that had no business being real, that couldn't have been further from the reality. Yet Clipzera pulls it out of the hat, just sprints it, bro, and confirms the low HP on the planter as well. Ridiculous jump swing there from Tinder. I mean, seriously, what the hell was that? And as you said, the nade, perfection onto George. There's no closer.
It's got to be tilting. Tender seeing out of this feeling, and he almost transfers. George has it on. It's 2 versus 4 right here, and this should be 15 for NRG. Seeing in the point where you're sitting in this type of advantage, loudly rotating into CT. We've all calmed down. If it wasn't Tender connecting up top there, then I don't think there was a world. I don't think there was a way. Nitro tried to do this himself all the way down in regulation, but couldn't quite make the cut. This is going to have to be further out from Aether. We need OT2.
Well, Aether, they had no chances in regulation. They're going to have no chances in overtime. NRG couldn't find their one. They're going to double their opportunities right here and now. Arias walks out of spawn with 70 health. Gets a knife in the back to begin with, and he zooms in. Zooms forward. Incredible flashbang. Is it enough? They continue to step in. They want him. They want him bad.
What?
They will not leave without Exotic's head, and it's at the cost of all their lives.
Bro, we'll take NRG off of the spike right now because that looked like it was irrecoverable. Micro and Clipzera that hang about. But nothing is going to stop the bomb from getting to A here. Nitro should be caught down below. Clipsera gets his hands on an easy one. But a post plan about to be prompted. And two of NRG's finest set to take care of it.
So much utility. Smoke's problematic for Clipsera. There's a molly for George. If he's the last man to take the contact, Bro is here. Hard fight. And they're not together. Aether separated from Ramp, from Khan. Who is first up to bat?
George just saw onto that stairs player. He's freaking out now. Has to go ahead and turn tide. Molotov onto the bomb. And it could be too much for Clipsera. Finds a headshot onto George. But now it is done. It is dusted. It is NRG that will find themselves in our second semifinals. Will they go against very familiar opponents? They will see Wildcard there. In a match that can reach the quality of a grand final, those are two of the biggest names we have in this tournament.
That they are. A question marks, though, a plenty of both of them, which makes it even more spicy. So much of that leading into this one for those semis that we have teed up. As we bring Paladin back in, ugly Counter-Strike, to be completely blunt, is what I think you're going to talk about.
Yeah. I think this is total nonsense. Is what I would probably equate to. A lot of other words that I would use to describe it that I can't necessarily use on broadcast, but you know, it is what it is. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, NRG needed that kick up the butt. I think players like Carson needed that kick up the butt. Players like Zodic needed the kick up the butt, and I think that they need to experience maps like this to realize that you cannot take every official like it's a walk in the park when you look at the names on paper. You have to go in the server, commit to every single action, every single time at the right pace, at any point. And if you don't do that, then it's going to cost you in the long run. And I think that in this situation, it did cost NRG. Unfortunately for them, it didn't actually come back to bite them in the butt. But hey, they got it over the line. And I think that's what they'll be happy about. It's a very flimsy semifinal between NRG and Wildcard. I have no idea which way that one's going to swing. I think for M80 getting info, we know where things are headed. But folks, that is going to be the broadcast done and dusted for today. NRG lifting themselves past Aether. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for the semifinals. You don't want to miss these bangers. So we hope to see you guys at the same time tomorrow. You don't want to miss it.